Though we have all traveled many uncertain roads, we have always recognized something wasn't right. We searched high and low, yet our paths had never intersected. Our desire to seek truth, then to speak true, has brought us all together. That thing of ours is rooted in truth, because truth is the only unshakable foundation. In the greatest book, it states in John 8:32, "For ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free."
Truth is a powerful force. It is the foundation on which all great achievements are built, and the bedrock of trust and respect in any relationship. When we are rooted in truth, we can be confident that our decisions and actions are grounded in reality rather than in speculation or wishful thinking.
The pursuit of truth is not always easy. It requires courage, perseverance, and a willingness to face uncomfortable facts. But in the end, the truth is always worth it. It allows us to make better decisions, to build stronger relationships, and to create a more just and equitable world.
From politics and world events to entertainment and pop culture, we've got you covered. We'll explore our history and the stories that matter to uncover the truth that lies at the heart of each one. With our fingers on the pulse of the news cycle, we'll provide the insights and analysis you need to stay informed and engaged. As we stay rooted in truth and let the truth guide us in all that we do, let us be willing to listen, to learn, and seek out the facts, even when they challenge our own assumption or belief.
Let us never forget that the pursuit of truth is not just an individual endeavor, but a collective one. Only by working together
With honesty and integrity,
can we build a better future for ourselves
And for generations to come.
This
is That Thing of Ours. How's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining us today on this Thursday, 26th of September, 2024. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, Rumble, and Pill.net.
and if you haven't already, please take a minute and give us that virtual hug. If you're over on YouTube or Rumble, hit that thumbs up. If you're over on pill.net, take that red pill. If you're over on X, smash that heart. And if you're on Facebook, I think they have like 7 buttons.
Hit the
just pick
heart.
one.
Hit the heart.
The
Thumbs up.
heart would be
whatever.
awesome.
All right, whatever. Yeah. Hit the buttons.
The buttons.
Thank you very much. It helps us out greatly, and we do truly appreciate it.
Yes, and we appreciate everyone showing up, even the ones who are just lurking or the ones who watch this later on.
Yeah. And those just listening. All right, I think we
So-
caught everybody.
Let's say hello to everyone. We got F. Clint in the house.
Yo, what's up, F. Clint?
Got Stephen in the house.
Hey, Steven.
Got Aaron in the house.
What's up, Aaron?
Got Miss Hope in the house.
Hey, Hope.
Miss Wendy in the
Wendy.
house.
What's going on, Wendy? And I'm
I
pretty
want
sure
to let
that
you guys know that Steph did make it home safely. She's probably taking a nap. We got Chops over on Pilled.
what's up, Chops?
He's over there sharing everything to everywhere.
Truly appreciate y'all sharing. Does help us out
Yes.
too.
Yes, very
Yeah.
much so.
Hey, Colleen, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Nice. All right. So it's Thursday, and
It
it's
is
been a busy day,
Thursday.
you were saying?
Yes, Miss Colleen. I missed that one. Glad you're here, Miss Colleen. Hopefully everyone is safe from the hurricane. Yes, it's been a busy day. It seemed like a Friday dump on a Thursday.
It did seem like a Friday afternoon dump.
It did.
News
It
dump,
did.
that is.
Yeah, news
you know what
dump.
I'm saying.
Yeah, not a weird dump. Okay, it's raining where Miss Jan is. Miss Jan,
Graham
we're so
Jam.
glad you're here.
Glad you're here.
We got prayers out for every single one of you guys that are affected by this hurricane, whether it's rain or something more serious.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we worry about y'all. Bands are
Yeah.
coming through and wind is picking up, says
Ew.
Wendy.
Okay.
Yeah, the hurricane, those bands of the hurricane really
Yeah.
are weird.
Yeah, I know Miss Shauna said that they got lots of rain and wind going on there.
And then our kid out there too.
Yeah.
No, okay,
yeah, our
we're good.
kid.
Everything's fine. Nobody worry.
Yeah. Worried about Miss Wendy, worried about our baby girl, worried about Miss Shauna.
Worried about all y'all's.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're not worrying because we're not supposed to worry.
Okay. but I'm worrying.
Okay. That works out. All right. So,
You ready?
yeah, I'm ready.
Okay,
Are you?
So we got Miss Melania Trump, and let's
Nice.
listen. I got a couple videos from her, so let's take a listen what she has to say.
Awesome.
I ran to the TV and I rewinded and I watched it. I was only a few minutes behind. And something, I guess, look over me. So I didn't really see live, but maybe, 3 minutes, few minutes later. But when I saw it, it was only, nobody really knew yet, because when you see him on the floor and you don't know what really happened.
And then a few weeks later, there's another attempt on your husband's life at your golf course. Where were you and what was your reaction to this attempt?
I was in New York City, actually, and I saw it on the television. And as soon as I saw it on television, I called again, and he was okay, because Secret Service were great. The guys that they were with him, they were fantastic. And I think both of the events, they were really miracles. If you really think about it, the July 13 was a miracle, like that much, and he could not be with us.
So, thoughts, sir?
Divine providence is actually a thing. and if it's not your time, then it's not your time. The fact that he moved his head just a split second is one of those things. You can't time that. You can't make that. Like, that's not something that's acting, right? So that's something that says that there was an actual attempt, and that President Trump was just being looked out for that day. And it is a shock. It's a shock to see all of it. And I can only imagine being a spouse and actually seeing that would probably be a bit overwhelming. That would be very wild. And then to have it happen twice in such a short period of time, I'm sure that there's concerns and worries over there. It's just, yeah, I can't put myself in her shoes.
No.
Nor do I want to.
No.
Hey, Brother Bill.
So we got Stephen. He said,
What's going on, Bill?
the goodness of God.
Yes.
Brother Bill, how you doing?
Mm-hmm. How you doing, man? Sorry, just trying to catch up here. No, just lazy. Owned by a family before I moved in 2003. Daughter just moved back in. They just throw everything in their backyard and forget about it. You can't get in their backyard.
That's sad.
and
There's
so,
Miss Steph.
Hey, Steph, there you are. See, this is one of the things where it's like, this is why homeowners associations were created, but
Because of people like that.
because of people like that. But then the charter of the homeowners association has gotten way out of control, and they're not worried about enforcing the things that they should be enforcing. Because the place that we were at before, like if you had a Trump sign out front, oh man, you got fined and told you got no letters, all sorts of crazy stuff. So it's it's rough, but when people are free to do whatever they want, people do whatever they want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So one more video, Mrs. Trump.
All right.
So Donald was on Brian Kilmeade's show last weekend, and Brian was asking him about your relationship, and he said, Brian, she really, really does love me. So what do you love most about your husband?
His humor, his personality, his kindness. He's very special. His positivity, his energy, it's unbelievable. So we have a beautiful relationship.
Thoughts?
They have a beautiful relationship. We can see
People
that,
always
though.
say that, oh, she doesn't really love him. Look how she turns her cheek. She turns her cheek because she doesn't want lipstick on him
Well,
because he's normally going to get photographed.
right. Well, and that makes sense, but that is what is it? Something bias. Oh God.
I don't know.
Confirmation bias.
Oh.
That's confirmation bias on their part. In other words, they want to see that it's just some political, like these two joined together because of whatever
Yeah.
reason. They both think that they're going to get something out of it, whereas that doesn't seem to be the case. So when these people see that she turns her cheek, maybe they just don't ever have anybody kiss them that has lipstick on, so they don't understand how that works.
Right.
I didn't know that was a problem until you just said it, but it makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
I mean, anytime I ever wore makeup, like at the ball and stuff like that, I would never kiss you on the lips because you're in uniform. We're going to be taking pictures. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, I got you.
Hi, Miss Renee.
Hey, Renee. There you go. Glad you're home safe.
Oh, you're making homemade butter. That's amazing.
Homemade butter. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That sounds epic.
Yeah. So, got Mr. Trump
All right.
talking about the economy. You ready?
Mr. President, please come back soon.
I know.
In the last month, Kamala Harris has destroyed 24,000 jobs, manufacturing jobs, beautiful jobs. I created over 500,000 manufacturing jobs. Our country was booming, the greatest economy we've ever had, and we're going to bring it back again. Vote for Trump. We're going to have the greatest country in the world again. Thank you.
Thoughts?
We are going to have the greatest country again. If nothing else, we'll be certainly on the path back in that direction.
Yes. Because
Excuse me.
You okay? Okay. Because he's really amazing and he actually cares about the country, unlike other people.
Yeah. Well, how people can't see that he actually cares about the country and the way it's supposed to be ran, because his actions speak louder than the words that they're hearing. And at a certain point in time, you should realize that that what they are seeing is very different than what what is actually happening. You have to look at what the fruits of his labor are. And then, okay, so he has good fruits of what he was doing for the 4 years he was in. And then you have this communication that's going the opposite way in terms of everything he does is bad. You see all these people keep talking about, for some strange reason, that he's doing a great job, and it just doesn't make sense to you. So at a certain point in time, you figured the light bulb would go off and say, okay, things just aren't matching up. What is wrong with my thought process? But, hey, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
So, Trump has a very important message. You ready?
Yes.
Our country needs a savior right now, and our country has a savior. And that's not me. That's somebody much higher up than me. Much higher up. We just do what we have to do. But the life and death and resurrection of Jesus Christ forever changed the world. It's impossible to think of the life of our own country without the influence of his example and of his teachings. Our miraculous founding, overcoming civil war, abolishing slavery, defeating communism and fascism, reaching boundless heights of science and discovery, so many incredible things, even right outside the magnificent skyscrapers and the whole development that this beautiful church is a part of. So different, so beautiful, however, so beautiful. And the United States ultimately becoming a truly great nation, and we're going to keep it that way. We're going to keep it that way. We're not going to let it go. Not going to let it go. But none of this could have ever happened without Jesus Christ and his followers and his church. None of it. And we have to remember that Jesus Christ is the ultimate source of our strength and of our hope. And here and everywhere, and for all time, Jesus Christ. And we want to just thank everybody who believes, because we're believing in our country, we're believing in the world, we're believing in life. This Christmas, let us pray for the hundreds of thousands of men and women serving in our nation's military. I'm so proud of what we were able to do for our military.
Thoughts, sir?
Where was that at?
It was this weekend at a small little,
Small.
yeah, that's what it said, a small little gathering.
A small little gathering. How many people do you think were in that crowd?
Probably 20,000.
I don't know about that. Not bigger than Reunion Arena.
Okay, 10.
Yeah, it was a huge
It
audience.
was really
Yeah, that
big,
was a big
but
audience.
It
But
did
anyways,
say a small little gathering.
a small little gathering.
Mhm.
Okay, so the statements that the president was making were all very encouraging. Not only was he acknowledging God and Jesus Christ, but he was saying that that is an integral part. Basically, what he was getting at was is that it's an integral part of this nation. It was an
Mhm.
integral part of the founding of it. And then he made an interesting statement after he talked about the revolution. He said specifically, overcoming civil war. But he had an interesting pause there, and he also
Mhm.
kind of like emphasis added there.
Yeah.
And what I could hear when he said overcoming civil war, it was almost like he was talking about in the present. And I believe that this is just a modern continuation. Everything that we're seeing going on is a modern continuation of the Civil War from back then. Because we look at it, Hillary Clinton was one of Bird's, was it Bird? The KKK,
Yes.
whatever.
Her and Biden.
Her and Biden both. They were
Mhm.
acolytes of him. And so we understand that the KKK popped up after the Civil War, and these things th- like a direct link to the Civil War and the side of the Confederacy can be made between Hillary Clinton via or through Byrd, through the connections through the KKK, right?
Mhm.
So it's almost like he was saying when he said overcoming civil war. One, the Civil War, we may have overcome it, and the fact that he was talking about it might be a continuation of what has been going on this whole time. So if we've actually overcome civil war, if we're really reading deep into what President Trump is talking about, and this is all speculation just in case, but if we're really reading into that, it sounds like he's saying that maybe we have finally overcome that civil war. And so it was and it was done through the power of Christ and God, who's actually making these things happen. He didn't take credit for it. And he also said that it came from a power much higher than himself. And these are all re-encouraging things to anybody who believes in God and our creator, because it says that this man is a God-fearing man and that those are good hands that we want to be in, as opposed to the not so God-fearing kind of people who've been running this country
Exactly.
off and on.
Yeah.
So anyways, Brother Bill says, I don't ever want to hear anybody say DJT isn't a believer again.
Yep.
Yeah, because he would be choking on the words Jesus Christ if he was actually,
Exactly.
if he actually
Exactly.
hated the concept of Christianity. He's Donald Trump is a lot of things, and he may be a personality, but that does not mean that he's an actor by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
And I just don't see him being an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My thoughts. Anyways, Colleen says, I love hearing him say this. And we should love hearing him say this, because these are the things that are important to us, if nothing else. And so if somebody is a believer, then yeah, we should love hearing that. Hey, Chachi, what's going on, man? Hey, Chachi.
I'm sorry, Miss Wendy. I'm really sorry.
Do you want me to read that, babe?
Yeah.
I'm just needing distractions. Heard from my stepdad about an hour ago, and he has decided to do radiation for the cancer.
We're sorry, sweetie. We're going to keep him in our prayers.
Not sorry, but we
Yeah.
share the heavy heart with you.
Yeah. Yeah. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I got some Tim Tebow.
All right.
There will never be a day when you wake up, when your sin, when my sin, when my screw-ups overcome what the cross has done for me. There will never be a day where sin is like, oh, guess what? God, I got you. No, our God is such a big, vast, loving, marvelous creator God that loves us so much that went to the cross, and he's telling us, listen, you can look the whole world, but in me you're gonna have peace. And I know it's gonna get hard, but guess what? You can choose courage anyways, because you know what happened and the results of which will never change.
Just got a text from our daughter. She doesn't have power.
Oh, she already lost power?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, so apparently in the St. Pete-ish area, St. Petersburg, they lost power. So, yeah, we'll just keep our ear to the track as to what's going on with that hurricane that seems to be raking Florida. And let's hope it's not too bad.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Thoughts, sir?
Tim Tebow is an amazing motivational speaker.
He is.
Yeah, that's
Almost as good as you.
no, he's much better than me.
Nope.
But I appreciate that.
Disagree.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Tim Tebow, he could have easily just, gone off into, like oblivion and never bothered with anybody else. But he still goes out there and he still tries to spread the good news. And that's an amazing thing. And he tries to keep people encouraged and motivated. He is a great encourager. Hey, Carol.
Hey, Carol.
So that's Tim Tebow, and it's nice to see that he didn't just say, you know what, I did my part, and they don't want me around. It's too much of a challenge. No, he said, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to go continue to talk to people and do it in a manner where the ubiquitous they can't stop him.
Yeah, and he also helps with trafficking and all that other stuff.
Yes, he does.
So
yeah, Tim Tebow's
he's amazing.
He's a stand-up dude.
He is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Stephanie says, I apologize. Had a phone call come in. My son had to go out and work in this hurricane weather coming through Georgia tonight. He works with the power company, so he was calling me before he went out. Well, he will be in our prayers, ma'am. He will be in our prayers.
Very much so.
Miss Wendy says, thank you for the prayers, Santino and Kay, praying for your daughter. We have a lot of volunteers in place in Florida. Hopefully she'll have power soon. Praying for that as well.
Yes, we are.
You want to go ahead and read that real quick?
New York City Mayor Eric Adams indicted following a federal corruption investigation.
Yeah, I have like 3 or 4
this
videos
has been slow
on
playing
this.
for a couple of days now.
Yeah, I have 3 or 4 videos we're going to get through. So we can either do comments after each one, or do you want to play them all and then
however you want to run it.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Guys, Paul Morrow for Obstes.org. So right now, the rumors are flying hot and heavy that Mayor Eric Adams, mayor of New York City, has indeed been indicted. As of right now, Wednesday night, the indictment has not been unsealed. Rumor is, and it looks corroborated right now, that the indictment will be unsealed tomorrow, Thursday morning, with the mayor actually surrendering next week. But Mayor Eric Adams appears to have been indicted here in New York City. Stay tuned. We're going to be following it.
Okay.
Okay, so that one was short and sweet. This is actually...
That was kind of yesterday-ish.
This is the federal prosecutors this morning. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, wait.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
My brain isn't braining.
It's okay.
Today, we are announcing campaign finance, bribery, and conspiracy charges against Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City. As the indictment alleges, Mayor Adams engaged in a long-running conspiracy in which he solicited and knowingly accepted illegal campaign contributions from foreign donors and corporations. As we allege, Mayor Adams took these contributions even though he knew they were illegal. And even though he knew these contributions were attempts by a Turkish government official and Turkish businessmen to buy influence with him. We also allege that the mayor sought and accepted well over $100,000 in luxury travel benefits from some of the same foreign actors who arranged many of the illegal campaign contributions. These benefits included free international business class flights and opulent hotel rooms in foreign cities. The mayor had a duty to disclose these gifts on his annual public disclosure forms so that the public could see who was giving him what. But as we allege, year after year after year, he kept the public in the dark. He told the public he received no gifts, even though he was secretly being showered with them. We allege that Adams accepted these benefits knowing that they were given to him because of his position. And in exchange for some of those improper benefits, he intervened in the New York City Fire Department's inspection process for a building owned and operated by the Turkish government, allowing it to open even though it had not passed the fire inspection. The corruption alleged in the indictment is, as I said, long running. As we allege in the indictment, Adams's solicitation of illegal campaign contributions began in 2018.
Okay.
All right. Let's
Now.
see. You want to go ahead and run on the next one?
Yep. Ready?
Yep.
My fellow New Yorkers, it is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes. If so, these charges will be entirely false, based on lies. But they would not be surprising. I always knew that if I stood my ground, all of you, that I would be a target. And a target I became. For months, leaks and rumors have been aimed at me in an attempt to undermine my credibility and paint me as guilty. Just this past week, they searched the home of our new police commissioner, looking for documents from 20 years ago, just 1 week after he joined my administration. Enough. I will fight these injustices with every ounce of my strength and my spirit.
Okay, that was the last one.
Okay, that was the last one.
Thoughts?
Okay, so there was a couple of things because he brought up since 2018, but then he said that they were looking for documents back 20 years ago when he had just like joined his team or whatever.
Right.
Boy, that man has a silver forked tongue. I can see why so many people fell under the illusion that he was actually caring about them. You know, he puts on the nice suit, you know, I mean, he churches up real nice, right? He has a smooth kind of talk about him where he's confident in what he's saying. And so I guess it makes it seem like he's a leader in some way, form, or fashion. And he may be, but the problem is that he used that leadership for his own benefit. And I firmly believe that the courts will show that as time goes on. Let's see. There were some interesting things said by the man who was talking about the indictments.
Federal prosecutor?
Yeah, the federal prosecutor who was doing those indictments or talking about it. He said some interesting things. He said that the mayor knew that it was illegal for him to do that. Now, that is a huge statement for a prosecutor to say, because that means that he knows what his intentions were. So that would mean, and I'm pretty sure that he's not going to make that mistake and not have some kind of proof that shows that he knew that what he was doing was illegal and that it was premeditated, basically. And if he's not able to prove that, then that would really have a chance to sink the case. And I have a feeling that that's not what's really going to happen. I believe that the former mayor, Adams, is truly going to find himself in a world of hurt because okay, let's look at the circumstantial evidence. He pointed out the circumstantial evidence in terms of the fact that he knew, because he denied the fact in a public setting that he was doing anything wrong, which means that he knew at that point in time that he was right, but, or that he was doing something wrong. But a good lawyer, good defense lawyer will be able to kind of twist and turn and just really make a mockery of the system and create confusion. And that's what they want to do. So that's why I think it was a bold statement for him to claim that he knew, that Mayor Adams knew that he was doing something illegal. He pointed out that, and he only said Turkish, which I find interesting. But he said Turkish, $10,000, I believe, is what he said to the from the Turks in terms of gifts of some form, fashion, or another.
Yeah.
But the Turks weren't the ones setting up police departments in the city of New York. Why didn't he say anything about China? I find that interesting, especially when all the information about China comes out about how China's connected to a lot of these pay-to-play campaigns and schemes. So what would be the purpose of that? And I'm thinking that the purpose of not bringing up China at this point in time and only bringing up Turkey is they're giving people that have been under the Chinese control, I guess, for lack of a better word, giving them they're not that close to me, which would only make it easier or which would only help keep those who have been doing wrong from trying to escape New York. So it's going to be interesting. This dude's going to go down. He's trying to make it look like he's fine, but in the long run, this is where the exposure happens. So what happens during this exposure is another question. And I believe that what we're going to see is we're going to start having the dots are going to start getting connected for everybody on the news. They're going to put out all of these talking points about Obama. We'll probably end up hearing about Jay-Z and Diddy, but we'll probably hear more about Diddy first because they got to start dealing with Diddy before they can bring in Jay-Z. Jay-Z will tie to the government agents or counter agents, I guess, that were working against this nation, because this is really, in the end, like, this is a tapestry that has to be put together, and it's going to take a lot of time, and it's going to take a lot of effort, and it's going to take a lot of education. Really, you think about it, people buy a car and you have to be educated on a car nowadays. How much more do people need to be educated about our own legal system? Despite how sad that is, we the people need to be educated on our own government. And I think that this is going to be a big masterclass on what government has done, what government used to be, and what government should be in the future.
Amen.
Hey, dude, man, what's going on? Thanks for joining.
Yes. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome.
All right.
You ready?
Yes.
How about some Kelly?
Could use some Kelly.
Let's go.
All right.
Hey, Christian, can I encourage you today? I know that it feels like you're honoring God, like you're trying to obey him, but you still aren't seeing the promise he gave you. God, you promised you'd bless us. Your word says you'll heal us. God, you're supposed to be the provider, and I need help. Look, if that's you today, can I remind you of something? Don't you stop on 6. Okay, what do you mean? You remember the story of Naaman, right? He was the soldier who got leprosy, but he hears there is a prophet in Israel who serves the real God, who may know how to heal him. So Naaman gets his whole crew together and they head to see the prophet. But when they get there, the prophet doesn't even come to the door. He sends out his intern, who then tells Naaman, go dip in the Jordan River 7 times and you will be healed. You see, your healing, your blessing, your miracle, your whatever is always going to be tied to your obedience. But hey, that's no big deal, right? Just go dip myself in the water 7 times and I'll get healed. I can handle that. But that's not what Naaman did. You see, the Bible says that Naaman turned around to leave angry. Angry? Why you mad, bro? Come on, this sounds so easy. You see, Naaman got angry because he thought it was going to look a lot differently. You see, Naaman thought, I'm a great man. Why isn't this prophet himself coming out to meet me? And he got mad. The Jordan River, dip myself in that? That water's nasty, son. Don't you know who I am? You see, to us, this sounds ridiculous. Dude, just go get in the water. You'll be healed. But I mean, come on. We do the same thing to God all the time, don't we? We go to God with our request. We take him our needs, our wants, our desires. But then we get frustrated when God wants to actually deliver, and we don't like the way he does it. You see, the Bible says that Naaman turned to leave angry. And Naaman said, I thought this mighty man would come out and do something amazing. I thought he would wave his hands over the spots and they would go away. Let me tell you something, my friends. Those two words right there have cost so many people their miracle, their blessing, their whatever. Because when God started to show up in their life, it didn't look the way they wanted. I thought it was going to happen like this. I thought it was going to look like this. And because it didn't happen the way I thought, then I'm out. But the truth is, his thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. We need to have great expectation on who is going to show up and who is going to meet the need. But we need to have no expectation on how and when he meets the need. Yeah, but Kelly, you said we're going to talk about don't stop on 6. We have, what do you talk, 6? Hold on, I'm getting there. You see, thank God Naaman had someone in his crew to help him out. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. Naaman had a friend with him that day and reminded him, if the prophet had come out and told you to do some great thing, wouldn't you have done it? And why not try this easy thing? So Naaman does. He gets in the water and he dips the first time. Comes out of the water, and I guarantee you he looked at that leprosy on his arm. And guess what? It was still there. So he dips again, still there. Dips a third time, still there. 4 and 5, still there. And then he dips again, number 6. Now, put yourself into this story for a second. You were already reluctant to even get in the water. And now you've dipped 6 times and the leprosy hasn't faded at all. You see, right here on dip number 6, that's when the enemy really starts to whisper to you, this isn't working. This is ridiculous. If God is real, why didn't he just take it away on dip 1? You see, some of you are right here. Right now, today, you're on number 6 and you've got a choice to make. I can make a choice to go down one more time, to trust God and believe in his word, that he's never failed anybody and he won't start with me. Or you can make the choice to quit. You can stop believing. You can say, God, this is ridiculous. You're not a man of your word. But let me tell you this. If you stop on 6, you'll never see your miracle. You'll never receive the blessing. You'll never experience the breakthrough. Don't stop on 6. You see, every single one of you is going to come to a point where it feels like obeying God is ridiculous. Like it feels like he forgot about you, that he's not a man of his word. But oh, friends, when you get to that point, what that really means is you're so close. Now the enemy's really lying to you because he knows you're so close. Yes, God could have healed you on number 1. He could have healed you on 2 through 5, but he didn't, because he wants to build your faith. He wants you to put your trust and your hope in him, to say, God, it doesn't matter what it looks like around me. I trust you. And God, even if nothing happens on 7, I'm going to do it because you asked me to. And I'm not in this, God, for what I can get out of it. I'm in it to be close to you. You see, the good news is Naaman did dip one more time. And oh, son, when he came out on 7, he was completely healed. And hey, you don't have to take Naaman's word for it either. Just ask Joshua and his boys at Jericho. They could have stopped on 6 too, but they didn't. And those walls came a-tumbling down, just like yours are about to. And think about that for a minute.
Boss, sir.
I love Kelly. He's amazing. So, taking something to completion. The Bible frequently talks about the number 7 being divine completion, getting to that completion, hence the 17. Why that's important. The 1 being the beginning, 7 being completion, coming together as the number 17 is one of those things where it is showing you from beginning to end. That's why that's so important. So, another thing, and I know that this is a different kind of religion altogether, but it points to the same thing, and that is the 7 chakras. The 6th chakra being the third eye, which is about the self, and then the crown chakra, the kundalini, which is about connection to the divine. And so it kind of speaks to that too, or at least that's they cross-reference each other there, because at the 6th time he was worried about what he wanted to see on the 6th, the dip into the Jordan River, right? And he had to go to completion, to number 7, the 7th time. That's the divine one. And so that's what he needed. He needed to overcome himself at the 6th time, take that to completion, to the 7th dipping into the Jordan River, and that's when the healing happens. And also, what Kelly was talking about is he was saying that it's not going to look like God's ways aren't our ways. And so when things aren't happening the way we would like to see them, we get frustrated, we get annoyed, we don't believe that, things are going to come about because of our faith, because we have, we're missing that little faith, right? That Kelly's talked about before. So it's about maintaining that little faith, the faith of the mustard seed, but maintaining that faith over the entirety of the entire process. You have to dip into the Jordan River 7 times before you actually get there. And that means that we need to overcome ourselves and our own ego, so that way we aren't giving up on the very thing that we desired in our lives. Therefore, we sabotaged our own faith in our Creator because we aren't able to maintain that little faith.
Amen. Amen.
That's how I see it. Yeah, we got some new friends.
New friends over on Pilled.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
So amazing.
Nice. All right.
Hold on one
Okay, she's doing
second.
background things. So in the meantime, I guess
Oh, here you go. That's what I had to do.
What's up, Ghost Pepper?
Ghost Pepper in that house. You ready?
Yes.
Let's go.
Been long suspected since it happened, since she died in, I would say, rather mysterious circumstances, that Diddy had something to do with the death of his ex-partner and the mother to his children, a woman named Kim Porter. Now, what happened was she mysteriously died of pneumonia at the age of 47. Not the typical way that a 47-year-old goes out, especially just when they are about to publish a tell-all book on their very famous ex, Diddy. That's what happened to Kim. She died of pneumonia at the age of 47 years old. Well, guess what? It was just announced yesterday that Kim Porter's book is being published. It's a 60-page book entitled Kim's Lost Words. It claims to be a collection of the diaries of Kim Porter, the mother of Diddy's children, and it was leaked by her friends. In the book, Porter allegedly recounts discovering and making copies of the tapes that Diddy made of himself having with young boys that he was managing, including an alleged tape involving an 18-year-old pop star who went on to become a household name. So this is getting very interesting. And what has come on the heels of this is people unearthing videos of Justin Bieber at Diddy parties. Now, Justin Bieber was obviously extremely young when he entered the industry, extremely innocent when he entered the industry, an industry that he did not quite understand as a boy who just knew how to sing and play the guitar and just did both of those things on YouTube. Then he was scooped up, and suddenly he was a part of people like Diddy going after him and saying, hey, man, why don't you pick up my phone calls? There's actually a video of that. Diddy and Justin Bieber looks to be like 15 years old.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Correct. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
And the next thing we know, Justin is at Diddy's parties. And in this one video, it looks like whatever Justin is doing, I'm not going to show it out of just respect for the fact that I truly believe that Justin Bieber is a victim. But whatever he is doing in this video with Trey Songz and Odell Beckham Jr. looks highly suspicious. I can show you a still from that video because I think the relevant part is Justin Bieber is not sober. He is clearly very heavily under the influence at this party. And if you remember that lawsuit that the producer Rodney dropped against Diddy, he said that unbeknownst to all of these people, they were being drugged. And then once they're drugged, they do very vulnerable things. It has long been suspected that the person that people are now putting the dots together in Kim Porter's allegations that Diddy had under his thumb was Justin Bieber, and that he may have done some inappropriate things with him. And what I will say is that this very much fits the narrative. We saw tons of videos of Justin Bieber when he got together with Hailey. He was crying a lot, like a lot outside of churches. He was finding his way back to God, but he was having a lot of emotional breakdowns. And what I sensed from those public emotional breakdowns, and only public, obviously, because the press was following him, was that he was coming to terms with the fact that he had been engaged in darkness unwillingly. And Justin Bieber probably has a lot of shame about that. He probably feels shame, first and foremost, as a man, as a husband, and as someone who has successfully created a new life for himself with his wife, Hailey Bieber. And so what I want to say to Justin Bieber and to everybody that's following the situation is that Justin Bieber is a victim. I was horrified when I saw this, not because of the idea that Justin Bieber would be engaged in these sorts of things at these parties, but because I understood that this was a kid who was intentionally targeted by Diddy, as the videos show, told that he wants to party with him. He makes it clear that Diddy is trying to contact him through people. And then he finally subjects himself and agrees to give his number. And then we saw an entirely different Justin Bieber. We saw Justin Bieber who was always wearing sunglasses, who was partying, who was very obviously involved in drugs. He spoke at length about his addiction. And Justin Bieber didn't do that to himself. Like I said, Justin Bieber was, in my view, a child victim. And as these videos are circulating on the internet, I want to make sure people remember that and give him the grace as someone who has somehow survived this, turned to family, turned to faith, and is still very much struggling with all of this. For people to give him the grace and the courage and the prayers to hopefully one day find within himself the strength to speak out about what happened.
Wow.
Thoughts, sir?
Jenny!
Miss Jenny! Watch out for the frogs, Jenny!
You know what popped in my mind right away?
What?
Hearing all this?
What?
That.
Yeah.
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 Look at that. Hanging out together.
Hanging out.
Wonder where he got that idea about drugging young people and having their way with them. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Good old Bill there.
Yeah.
Just in case y'all can't see that. Yeah, that's a legit image. That's straight off of Getty Images. Look at that. Look at those two together.
Yeah.
Look like they're good buds.
Puddin' Pop and P. Diddy.
Yeah. Puddin' Pop and P. Diddler.
Yeah.
Well, ain't that something special? That's exactly what was happening. And, I feel sorry for Justin Bieber because that kid didn't have a chance. That kid didn't, he didn't know what he was getting into. And obviously his parents didn't give a shit. Otherwise they would have done,
All
what?
they cared about was the money.
Yeah. Hey, so long as they get theirs, that's all that matters. And that's terrible. That's awful. Because they should have been like, you know what? This music industry thing just isn't everything it's supposed to, it's cracked up. It's supposed to be. It seems to take a big toll on the young man if he chooses to do it sometime later in life. But really thankful for the opportunity is what they should have done. Understanding that they probably couldn't say anything. It's got to be really terrible to be a parent and see the corruption and the fact that you can't do anything about it and not be able to say anything directly out to the public. And so, yeah, it would be nice if Justin Bieber wasn't terrified to the point where he doesn't feel comfortable enough coming out to say something, because he sees what happens to people who say something. There's a long list, Seth Rich, that's just a start. Right. And he was trying to expose Clinton. That's kind of dangerous, but it's not like people didn't know what Diddy was doing to people that decided that they wanted to say something. So the kid's going to be terrified, and now he's a grown man and he doesn't know what to do. And I think he's fearful of saying anything.
Yeah.
I hope that he's been able to open up to investigators. But then again, really, when you're in that world and you see so many corrupt officials all over the place, when are you going to really feel comfortable saying something, especially when it's sometimes the police themselves that are doing the crimes? So yeah, that would certainly make people not want to speak up and speak out about the things that they have to go through.
Exactly. Ugh, so disgusting. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You want to go ahead and read that?
Babylon B says, man identifying as 8-year-old breaks.
6.
Is that 6?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to squint. Okay. Man identifying as 6-year-old breaks all records in T-ball league.
Ready?
Yeah.
For years, I knew I was different somehow. I played in adult league softball, and I don't know. It just didn't feel like the real me somehow. That's when I realized, I'm actually a 6-year-old, trapped in the body of an extremely athletic 4-year-old man. I'm Paul Cornell Jr., and I identify as a 6-year-old. And as a 6-year-old, I compete in the Cedar Valley Little Rookies T-Ball League. Go team. Here's my baseball card. It's a real collector's item. I had it printed at Staples.
Boom goes the dynamite.
I just belong here, I finally fit in somewhere.
You know what? Ah!
Paul, he's just a great kid. I mean, he's got those intangibles, the stuff you can't teach. I mean, speed in the base path, situational awareness, a little pop on the back.
Yeah, baby!
And, well, he's, 2 feet taller, 150 pounds more than anybody else in the league. I mean, what are you going to do? Just a natural. Love the guy. All right, let's go, guys. Woo!
Are there bigots? Of course. And there's lots of ignorant people in this country. People that don't accept me for who I am on the inside.
Hey, that's not a 6-year-old. That's a grown-up.
You're out of here.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
You're out. You're out. You're out. Quadruple play. MVP. MVP.
Despite the haters, I gotta persevere. Gotta live my inner truth, because really, I'm doing it for the little guy. Okay, I'm doing it for, all those other real 6-year-olds out there that don't feel comfortable showing their real selves to the world yet. I'm doing it because, shoot, I'm a good person. If you disagree with me, I'll get you canceled and ruin your career.
Thoughts, sir?
I love the Babylon Bee. They're hilarious.
Needed something funny.
The thing that is really sad about that is how
There's
is
probably someone out there like that.
Well, no, not just that. That's how a lot of these things look. Like the Olympic champion boxer that beat up women. It's like that's what you look like to me. When you compete in women's sports and you're a failure in the other ones because whatever reason.
Hey, little lunker.
Hey, little lunker.
Welcome.
It's one of those things where it's like that's what you look like to me. I mean, yeah, okay, you think you're doing great, but everybody else is looking at you the exact same way as if you're a 30-something playing t-ball.
Mm-hmm.
Of course you can win, and that
like
isn't
debated women's sports.
Yeah, well, and these are the boy, doesn't this really point to what everybody gets a trophy leads to?
Oh yeah.
Or did everybody gets a trophy prevent this?
No,
it did not. It did not prevent this. So it
encouraged this.
Encouraged this. I remember when I was a kid and
I mean,
everybody
when
gets
I
a
was
trophy we
when
mocked it.
exactly when I was growing up, not everybody got a trophy. If you sucked, you sucked. You got picked last.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ugh.
Anyway.
Are you ready?
Yeah, it'd be more funny if it wasn't like fact.
I know.
If it wasn't nonfiction.
I know.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
How about some Justin?
All right, we could do that.
Those of you that think that your past disqualifies you from God, you're missing the whole point. It doesn't matter about your past failures. It doesn't matter how much you've let yourself down, you've let your family down, or anybody else. That has nothing to do with your tomorrow. The very things you battled and the very things you struggle with is the very things that God will use to benefit the kingdom. It'll be the very things that he'll use as a testimony to others. Very people that's had the most battles and struggles in life, God will use them as a voice of relevance, as a voice of credibility to those going through the same circumstances. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. God has a plan for your life. He's going to use you in ways you never thought of.
Thoughts, sir?
I've been hearing a lot of that lately, where people feel like whatever they did in the past, they feel like it's the unforgivable sin. And I've also noticed that in some of the comments, especially when they, people will say something specifically about, an unforgivable sin, understanding that that is the denying of the Holy Spirit. And if you're worried about whether or not you did that, then that kind of proves that you didn't deny the Holy Spirit, because you're actually acknowledging it and in that very question, right? So it's sad that people think that, and I understand that a lot of people, it feels to them that they've done the absolute worst thing on the planet, and then you find out about what's really going on in the world, and
right,
kind of, and then we have to get to that point where we recognize that there's no sinometer where technically there's one sin is not worse than any other. It's all breaking of the law, that is written in the Bible. And so people are entirely missing the message of Yeshua's sacrifice for all of us. He was the one that absolved us of our sins as long as we turn to him. Hey, Tracy, thanks for joining. And it's a message that probably got convoluted with all of these big rock star preacher men that are out there on TV, on the television, and God loves your money, or God needs your money more than you do kind of crap. And it confuses people. And all of this confusion that's been created for how long now with these
years and years,
televangelists. And so it's that we're actually fighting against. We're fighting over multiple decades of that kind of attack on what the truth really is. So we really need to be listening to people and helping them get through this, helping them understand in a way that's going to make sense to them. Because when people are turning to God, they don't want to feel like they can't turn to God anymore. And so that's a very important message that needs to be spoken.
Exactly.
Brother Bill says, George Carlin said, that's the problem with the inclusive BS. Everybody gets a prize. There's no losers. You didn't lose, little Johnny. You're just the last winner.
Exactly. You know what second
Carlin.
place
Carlin
is?
was the first loser.
First loser.
And get comfortable with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do better.
Or get uncomfortable with it and do something about it. That's the fighting spirit that we lost. And it turned into everybody just wants to fight with each other because other people are making us fight against each other.
Facts.
We're waking up to it.
Yeah,
It's
we are.
Gonna end.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. You want to read that real quick? And I have 5 videos about this subject that we're going to go over.
All right. So RFK Jr. says, President Trump and I are going to stop the mass poisoning of American children.
Ready?
Amen. Yes.
This is what most Americans innocently put into their bodies these days, and most alarmingly, into the bodies of their children. And it's no coincidence that Americans die earlier than Canadians or Germans or Italians or Japanese or Koreans or Australians or most any other comparable country. And it wasn't always that way until the early 1990s. Our life expectancy was the same or better than other developed countries. Then suddenly, more and more Americans began suffering from chronic diseases, from obesity, cancer, diabetes, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and all kinds of autoimmune diseases. Our maternal mortality rate soared to the highest of any developed country on earth. Same with infant mortality. Like the frog in the slowly boiling water, we didn't really notice as we got sicker and sicker. We've grown now to accept chronic disease conditions as normal. But now in 2024, we're finally waking up to this cataclysm and we're asking ourselves, how in the world did this happen? A big part of it is our diet. Restaurants that serve contaminated food are fined or shut down. But when it's the government that approves the poisons in our food, a few people get very, very rich, and the toxins end up in every supermarket aisle. Let me show you what I mean. Doritos, Cheez-Its, Captain Crunch, gummy bears. Everyone knows that these are junk foods, so maybe you wouldn't be too surprised to see that the ingredients include a lot of poisons, including a harmful yellow dye called tatrazine, or yellow dye number 5. What you may not know is that this dye was originally made out of the sludge that's left over when you turn coal into coke for blast furnaces. It's called coal tar, and I've actually sued many big industries for legacy contamination of coal tar all around the country because it's so toxic and it's so harmful to the environment and human beings. A century ago, it was just an obnoxious industrial byproduct that everybody was trying to figure out ways to get rid of. One of the ways that they did that was by paving roads. But then a British chemist figured out that the coal tar could be used to derive fabric dye. And if fabric dye, why not food? Food manufacturers began using it to cover up the discoloration of low-quality foods that they wanted to pass off on unsuspecting customers. They didn't know back then that this yellow dye, tartrazine, causes tumors, asthma, developmental delays, neurological damage, ADD, ADHD, hormone disruption, gene damage, anxiety, depression, intestinal injuries. Well, we know it now. We've known this for decades. That's why tartrazine is heavily restricted in other countries. In some countries, foods with tartrazine have a warning label that it may cause ADHD in children. Today, it's made from petroleum, not coal tar. Either way, it's crazy to add this to your kids' favorite foods. It doesn't even change the flavor. This yellow dye isn't just in junk food. It's in the foods that we consider healthy. It's in everyday kids' snacks like popcorn, mac and cheese, fruit snacks. It's in sports drinks like Gatorade and so-called vitamin water. It's even added to chicken broth, to corn, to pickles, to mustard, and to yogurt. And so, of course, our kids get sick. And we lovingly feed them chewable vitamins, which have, surprise, tartrazine. And so the cycle continues until the coughs and asthma kick in, at which point you go to pick up some cough syrup. And yeah, you guessed it, tartrazine. I've been picking on tartrazine today, but that's just one of at least 100 chemical poisons that our health agencies allow into our children's food. I can make a video just like this to talk about Red 40, BHA, BHD, potassium bromate, chemical after chemical, and on and on and on. If just one of them can cause all of these problems, imagine what they're doing in combination. That's never been studied. If we took all of these chemicals out, our nation would get healthier immediately. We'd have fewer sick days. We'd have better focus. We'd have less anxiety. Our kids would learn more easily. We'd lose weight. We'd have more energy. We'd have fewer tumors and longer lives. It's not all dark. Over the past 16 years, the government has banned 8 chemical additives that cause cancer, genetic damage, asthma, and many of the other health conditions as tartrazine does. And you know what's interesting? All 8 of those crucial steps forward in our kids' health were taken under President Trump. But the Democrats who claim to be all about healthcare have stood by watching other countries ban these poisons and make our kids sick, asthmatic, hyperactive, and depressed. They left them on every supermarket shelf in America. They even used your tax money to put them in your kids' school lunch. So their big food and their big ag donors probably gave them all that golden handshake and the big money hug. And their big pharma donors probably called them up and thanked them also, because now they're going to make billions selling Adderall, Prozac, and rescue inhalers. Enough is enough. President Trump and I are going to stop the mass poisoning of American children. Together, we're going to make America healthy again.
You want to see the next one, or you want to do it one by one?
So I just wanted to, I'll do this one real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
They've been renaming the dyes like the Yellow 5. It's because people were getting savvy to it, and so they stopped buying something. So what they do, they made it so that they could change the name and it wouldn't mean anything. They did that before the FDA was about to put a regulation on any of the dyes. How did they manage to pull that one off? Thank God the Food and Drug Administration goes out of their way to make sure that, that our food isn't filled with all of the drugs that get us to have to take all of the drugs from the pharmacy, big pharma. Isn't that weird?
Exactly.
It needs to be broken up so bad. I
It does.
am just chomping at the bit for President Trump to get back into office, because I have a feeling we're going to start seeing some real clean sweeps going on and everything. I don't know what these people are going to do for a living after they've been in these corrupt things. And if an employer actually gave a shit, they're going to look at somebody's, oh, you worked for the FDA. Well, thank you for your time. Have a good day. We'll call you. Don't call us.
Exactly.
That's what should happen, because these are what they wanted to kill people.
Yes.
So what's difference between that and a company not hiring somebody who was in prison and actually, paid their debt to society, and now they can't get a job?
I know.
Even though they really don't want to go back in there, but now they can't get a job. So now they have no choice but to do something to get back in there, just so they can have 4 or 3 hots and a cot.
I know.
These people need to be treated the same way that they wanted everybody else to be treated.
I know.
Anyways, Brother Bill says, when do we, the people, get the torches, pitchforks, and rope and clean these rotten effers out by dangling them from the gallows? Enough of this shit. And yeah, it is enough. And I prefer the gibbet.
Yeah.
Which is where you just put them in a cage and exposure over a long period of time. But I think that kind of breaks the whole no cruel and unusual punishment bit. So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, that's a good question, Brother Bill. It's like people just, they aren't there yet. But like I've said before, I believe that this long exposure as to everything that's going on will make it so that way it happens in a lawful manner, as opposed to the pitchforks and torches and ropes and whatnot. So, but I think that once people see it, they're going to be demanding justice be served.
Yeah.
When he says they need to get on this food thing ASAP, like yesterday. I'm very overweight, and I will be, and I will be dangerous if I get my teenage body back. And then Wendy says, also, I would appreciate it because I did everything I could to fight the weight gain, and I lost. You know what? All of this unhealthy food that they've been giving us is very much responsible for the epidemic, America's obesity epidemic. And they've been talking about the obesity epidemic, but that's because they were too busy trying to push things like, Ozempic or something.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yep.
I'll go ahead and read that.
When in all actuality, if they would have just taken the power away from these people, we'd all be healthy in a year or two. Alex Clark brings the heat before U.S. Senate on childhood disease epidemic and autism.
Ready?
Children today are about 20% more likely to develop type 1 diabetes than they were 20 years ago. Childhood cancer rates are rising a percentage point every year. Asthma is up, so is ADHD, allergies, virtually every type of psychological disorder. In 1980, autism was diagnosed at a rate of just 3 or 4 per 100,000 kids. Today, a newborn child has a 1 in 36 chance that he or she will be autistic. And that rate is also rising every year. Who cares about politics if the next generation is dead or close to it before they can even vote? Just to reiterate the war on moms in this country, today, virtually everything a child eats or drinks will be served on a plastic plate, in a plastic bottle, or be eaten from a plastic container with plastic utensils. Human breast milk now contains thousands of microplastics. If you need formula, you can't find it without inflammatory seed oils or soy. Parents have to order it and buy it from Europe. Does this all seem overwhelming to you? Good. This is what the American mom deals with every day.
Amen.
Thoughts, sir?
It's frustrating. And there's a reason why I don't speak my voice at some of these meetings, because it wouldn't be pretty. Because what is it that they do? What is it that they do? Because they say they don't have the ability to change anything, yet for some reason they keep getting richer. They keep getting more power and influence, and yet they aren't able to use that power or influence in which to influence a more healthy, like, nation.
Exactly.
People are going to be pissed. People are already pissed,
It's getting worse, though.
but it's getting worse.
Yeah,
Yeah. They won't be able to walk the streets.
exactly. You ready?
Hmm.
Go ahead and read that one.
They're poisoning our children. The scary difference between Fruit Loops in America and Canada. Oh, it's just next door.
Ready?
Yep.
Debate. But with artificial food dyes, they have shown all over the world that they can use colorants that come from fruit.
This is the Canadian version.
This is the brightness of the Canadian version, just for visibility. And this is the brightness of artificial food dyes. So, of course, Kellogg and other food companies will argue children prefer this over this, just as they would prefer cocaine over sugar. That doesn't make it okay.
But I think
Thoughts?
So, excellent points. These megacorp companies, I pray that they get everything stripped and peeled away from them, and all of that wealth that they think they created gets taken away from them, and it's given to the people of the United States. And it doesn't need to be given to any one specific group, and they should probably be broken up into a million pieces and sold off to your average American after they redistribute the wealth that they stole from the American people, so that we can buy those companies back for ourselves. And let the dust, once the dust settles and all of these people who don't know how to run anything other than run it for their own benefit will just have to suffer, and they'll have to figure it out on their own, because they thought they were so smart and they thought they were so great that, oh, look how smart we are. We are a part of a club that screws over the rest of the planet. Look how much smarter we are.
Exactly.
Yeah. May you
Yeah.
get everything you deserve.
Exactly. And Chachi, don't forget to email me so I can get you that recipe over. Because I tell you, cooking from scratch is much better.
Yeah. And yeah, just can't buy packaged foods.
Yeah.
And really it's questionable buying the fruits and vegetables that you can make on your own anymore. You really have to just, you got to make your food from scratch, sadly. Aaron says, preach about some real retribution, Santino. They should not financially benefit from their crimes, and the fruits of their labors should be given to their victims. I agree.
Man.
I agree 100%. Oh, you have a fancy house in Bora Bora? Well, you used to, but not anymore. Oh, you got 10 houses all across California or across from coast to coast in the United States? Well, not anymore. But you can have this shack that you wanted your lowest paid employee to live in, because they get one of those now. They get that house because they had to put up with your shit. And so now you get to live the way you wanted them to live. Oh, by the way, you need to work harder and pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Exactly.
Work harder, asshole. I mean, that's what they need to hear.
And they do.
And they need to be treated that way,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the world that they created for everybody else. They
Amen.
need to be put in that situation.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
I think that they can hear it.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You want to read that real quick?
Jillian Michaels gets standing ovation after powerful speech on the chronic disease epidemic.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
The entirety almost of my generation, along with the 2 generations that followed, have fallen victim to America's unchecked obesity crisis and over 170 comorbidities that go along with it. I don't know about you, but I've watched my friends jabbing themselves every day with fertility drugs, praying for a pregnancy, my friends getting up at the crack of dawn to get radiated where the lump was found in their breast, my friends swallowing fistfuls of pills to manage their debilitating anxiety and depression. The decades between 1980 and now didn't beget a genetic quantum leap in which our DNA inexplicably mutated to make American bodies expand and fall ill at an unprecedented pace. And while Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z have our problems, 75% of us are not stupid, weak, or lazy. So hopefully you are wondering what has happened to us. And we're here to tell you. In the late 70s and the early 80s, a sinister series of events converged to change food and subsequently health in America indefinitely. A plague that crept like a fog while we slept, literally and figuratively, blindly trusting that the powers that be would never betray us. I mean, it seemed unthinkable to question whether a corporation would poison us for profit. I mean, the widespread assumption, at least when I was a kid, was that they were acting on our behalf. They wanted to make food more affordable and more convenient. But it was this betrayal of trust that allowed them to insidiously infiltrate every part of our lives. Home-cooked meals became fast food value meals. Libraries and bookstores with no food or drink policies installed cafes selling 500-calorie coffee drinks and pastries. Eggs became heart disease cholesterol bombs, and Honey Nut Cheerios got labeled heart healthy. The default human condition in the 21st century is obese by design. Specific, traceable forms of what's referred to as structural violence are created by the catastrophic quartet of big farming, big food, big pharma, and big insurance. They systematically corrupt every institution of trust, which has led to the global spread of obesity and disease. Dysfunctional and destructive agricultural legislation like the Farm Bill, which favors high-yield, genetically engineered crops like corn and soy, leading to the proliferation of empty calories, saturated with all of these toxins that we've been talking about today for 3 hours. And it seems like we can never say enough about it. And then this glut of cheap calories provides a boon to the food industry giants. They just turn it into a bounty of ultra-processed, factory-assembled foods and beverages strategically engineered to undermine your society and foster your dependence like nicotine and cocaine. So we literally cannot eat just one. And to ensure that you don't, added measures are taken to inundate our physical surroundings. We're literally flooded with food and we are brainwashed by ubiquitous cues to eat, whether it's the Taco Bell advertisement on the side of a bus as you drive to work or the vending machine at your kid's school. There is no place we spend time that's left untouched. They're omnipresent. Kids with mega celebrities eating McDonald's and loving it. Sponsored dietitians paid to promote junk food on social media, utilizing anti-diet body positivity messaging like derail the shame in relation to fast food consumption. Time magazine brazenly issuing a defense of ultra-processed foods on their cover with the title, "What if ultra-processed foods aren't as bad as you think?" And when people like us try to sound the alarm, they ensure that we are swiftly labeled as anti-science, fat shamers, and even racists. They launch aggressive lobbying efforts to influence you, our politicians, to shape policy, secure federal grants, tax credits, subsidy dollars, which proliferates their product and heavily pads their bottom line. They have created a perfect storm in which pharmaceuticals that cost hundreds, if not thousands per month, like Ozempic, that are linked to stomach paralysis, pancreatitis, and thyroid cancer can actually surge. This reinforces a growing dependence on medical interventions to manage weight in a society where systemic change in food production and consumption is desperately needed and also very possible. These monster corporations have mastered the art of distorting the research, influencing the policy, buying the narrative, engineering the environment, and manipulating consumer behavior. So given all of this, the question becomes, how did I escape? I mean, I still remember the lunches my mom would pack me as a little kid. And, I mean, it was such innocence and love. And she had no idea that my kindergarten lunchbox contained at least 50, now I'm thinking it's far more, carcinogens, solvents, emulsifiers, colorings, preservatives. I have the list. I'm going to skip it because we did it already. Frankenfoods like juice boxes with no juice. Processed lunch meat held together by meat glue. I mean, as a tween, I would sit on the couch after school, just numbingly inhaling Cheetos and Oreos in front of the TV. There was no such thing as meal times. And I could stuff myself endlessly and never feel full. Buckets of KFC at night for our family dinner because it was quick, convenient, affordable. And I remember I would lay in bed comatose. It was a lifestyle equivalent to a death sentence, but we never questioned it because we were just a family that was simply attuned to the culture. So, it should come as no surprise that by that tender age of 13, I was obese, failing in school, and becoming increasingly depressed and despondent. And my mom began to feel helpless. She spoke to my pediatrician and a child psychiatrist, both of whom suggested she medicate me on Prozac and Ritalin, but she was watching many of her friends' kids on this exact same protocol, and they weren't improving. My mom was becoming progressively desperate to help me, and then fate intervened. She met another mom whose child had been thriving since joining a local martial arts studio, and she signed me up the next day. And my sensei was smart enough to recognize the ways in which America's youth were being routinely poisoned. And he cared enough to create an environment where myself and the other students under his wing were educated, insulated, and nourished to become our best selves. I went on to get my black belt, then become a trainer and a nutritionist myself with the intention of waking up the others and giving them the same tools that he gave me. And while I have been fortunate enough to pull many back from the edge, over the course of my 30-year career, I have lost just as many, if not more, than I've saved. I have watched them slip through my fingers. Mothers that orphaned their children, husbands that widowed their wives. I have even watched parents forced to suffer the unthinkable loss of their adult children. There are not words to express the sadness I have felt and the fury, knowing that they were literally sacrificed at the altar of unchecked corporate greed. Most Americans are simply too financially strained, psychologically drained, and physically addicted to break free without a systemic intervention. Attempting to combat the status quo and the powers that be is beyond swimming upstream. It is like trying to push a rampaging river that's infested with piranhas. After years of trying to turn the tide, I submit that the powers that be are simply too powerful for us to take on alone. I implore the people here that shape the policy to take a stand. The buck must stop with you while the American people tend to the business of raising children and participating in the workforce to ensure that the wheels of our country go around. They tapped you to stand watch. They tapped you to stand guard. We must hold these bad actors accountable. And I presume the testimonials you heard today moved you. Digest them, discuss them, and act upon them. Because if this current trend is allowed to persist, the stakes will be untenable. We are in the middle of an extinction level event. The American people need help. They need heroes. And people of Washington, your constituents chose you to be their champion. Please be the change. Thank you.
Thoughts, sir?
It's nice to hear people standing up. It's when she was talking about we need them to stand up and take the lead. That's exactly what they should be doing. Hey, there is an existential threat from a powerful, source, and they're going to do stupid stuff. And we need every American to stand up and do the right thing. But the problem is we've been so asleep for so long. It's been going on for decades. And those are the things that we have to change. But they have to change shortly because in the meantime, they're doing all of these things to make us sick, fat, sick, and nearly dead.
Yes.
And
that
it's
was such a
good documentary.
It's also one of those things it's very difficult to stop doing. Even on, you get cravings for some things every now and then, and so it makes it impossible to try to get away from it, because if you fall into that craving, it takes so much more effort to try to not continue to go back to Taco Bell or Burger King, or because it's convenient, it's easy. I can go, I don't even have to get out of my car. I got so much crap going on. Let me just go to the drive-through and get a bite to eat. And it's scientifically designed to make it addictive, because the tobacco companies got their nose into the food industry and they started doing food science. And that food science, they know exactly what makes people addicted to the food. So that way it's difficult to go back. And so that way it becomes like this self-licking ice cream cone where it feeds itself. And it's so difficult to get out. But this willpower that's required of us is exactly what we need, because we have to make it through to the other side. And so that discipline is one of the things that we have to apply in life right now, to do the uncomfortable things until our food gets fixed. And then you can go down the grocery store aisle and you can buy some freaking Fruit Loops that you don't have to worry about is going to kill you or your kid in the next 10 years. May the people who run these companies and that know what's going on get everything they deserve.
Yeah.
Brother Bill says, just think how angry our Heavenly Father is at those perpetrating these crimes against his children, against everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And they give themselves the money to make sure that they can pay other people to grow their food for them. That's real food. That's why they leave the food cleaner in Europe, because they think they're better than us. It's always the royals. They're royal pain in the ass. I look forward to not having royals do anything in this nation ever again.
Yeah.
Brother Bill also says there's a lot to be said for long-term fasting. I agree. I do little fasts every now and then. I do need to get my butt in gear and do some longer fasts. Tracy says, people can talk smack about Ozempic all they want, but it's helped me. And I don't want them high sugar foods. It's actually helped me to stay away from them. And I can understand that. I understand that completely. However, what we understand about the medications and the pharmaceutical industry is that the pharmaceutical industry is going to put like a dead man switch in there. Oh, if you want to stop this, well, you just might not be around anymore. Oh, you want to get off of that? Well, your body's going to be falling apart. And so I don't trust Big Pharma. I don't trust any of their medications that they give us, no matter how good it may look. We just have to make sure that we're doing the right things. So what do? And look, I have family members on Ozempic and it bothers me. And there's, what can I do about it? You can't like, tell somebody to make the lifestyle changes and then expect them to be happy about it, because people don't like to hear about the things that, hey, that's not good. And then people take it personally, like you're attacking them. Nobody's attacking anybody other than Big Pharma in this specific instance, or Big Ag, or big, boxed food trash that they put in the grocery store. Look, I'm not going to lie. I just had, what was it? Burger King?
Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box. Yeah, I know. So much better. I had Jack in the Box just the other day. And it's like, God, it really is convenient and easy. It's been years since I've been through a drive-through like that and got, like a fast food burger thing, right? And it was tasty, but I'm kind of paying for it. My body ain't happy about it. And so those are other indicators for me. And those are the things that help me get, on the track and stop letting go because of the way my body reacts in relation to these things. And we do need to be careful. But I also understand there are a lot of things that, sometimes we need assistance, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's not a judgment on anybody except for Big Pharma and all of these companies that belong to the modern version of the East India Trading Company.
Exactly.
Hey, Skunk, thanks for coming in. Says Skunk Butt Rug says it's possible. I haven't had fast food or ate at a restaurant in 10 years. My God, only found it possible with God. And that does help out a lot. Ozempic is a lifetime subscription. Tracy says, anytime I eat anything fast food, my body feels disgusting. Exactly. You know, when I was younger, I used to go to Long John Silver's once a year. I called it my annual, like lubing, make sure everything's, nice and, squeaky and all the joints are running clean. And I paid for it every time. But I love the little Crispies that they put at the bottom of the Long John Silver's little basket that they had. And, who doesn't like some good fish and chips? It's just, something that we need to avoid. And sometimes I failed miserably there. Tracy says, it was nothing personal that you said. It was something she said. I can understand that.
Yeah.
I can understand that. Aaron says, a patient cured is a customer lost. And that's the entirety of how they do business.
Yeah.
Brother Bill says, fast food doesn't even taste good anymore. It's just garbage and poison. Not even good for instant gratification. I beg to differ because that Jack in the Box was really good. Had that Swiss and cheddar, no bacon, and the butter roll. Anyways, love to make my own.
Yep. You ready?
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and read that? Last one on this subject.
Nazi scientists knew there were certain chemicals they could use to dumb down the brain. We've been hearing about the fluoride and everything lately. Yeah.
You ready?
Exposure. Here it comes.
Yeah, it's coming. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Nazi scientists knew that there were certain things, chemicals that they could put in food and water and medication to dumb down the brain, damage the body, make the person weaker so that they could be more controllable. Things like fluoride, chlorine in the water, mercury and aluminum in your food. All these things, when you ingest them, basically create heavy metal toxins in your body. And after a while, you become like a walking antenna. You become almost metallic. You pick up the ELF and microwave signals, the scalar waves that are transmitted from satellites and cell phone towers, etc., so that you're constantly available for programming 24/7.
Thoughts?
So one of the reasons why I like going to Liberty Daily is because it's kind of a gateway into understanding what's really going on in the background. And if y'all ever looked at Drudge Report, they kind of took that format. Sadly, Matt Drudge sold Drudge Report, and now it's just a sell. It's like the Lincoln Project, right? It's a good source because they have been trying to wake people up, but it's changed recently. Changing for a little while now, and that change is that they're really starting to talk about all of these, like what used to be deep conspiracies, like fluoride, water. Those were things that people didn't want to touch because you would get attacked for it. Like hearing from Jillian Michaels about these things. These are things that are coming out in what is a more mainstream kind of media format. And that is an encouragement, and it should be taken as an encouragement. We all understand that fluoride's bad. My God, you should see what the water's like. We have the second worst water in the nation, only behind Flint, Michigan. So we're catching up to you, Flint. Watch out. We're trying to top it over here in Vegas because that's what we do, bigger and better than everybody else. But sometimes it's difficult to try to stay away from all this stuff. The filters that we get can only do so much. The only way to really fix these things is to make sure that the root of the problem gets ripped up like freaking crabgrass in your Tiff Bermuda front yard, and make sure that it doesn't ever have the ability to come back again.
Exactly. You ready?
Yep.
Forgiveness is not about what they deserve. It is about what God desires. Nobody will ever deserve your forgiveness. God desires for us to forgive. The same way we did not deserve his forgiveness, but he desired to make a way through Jesus so we could be forgiven. This will not be fair. It will be faith. You missed it. Everybody wants crazy faith for things. And God says the strongest thing you can believe me for is the faith to actually forgive them. To know that just letting them go doesn't mean they were right. Doesn't mean that they were justified. It means you're justified. That you are blood bought. And God has transformed your life. It's not what they deserve. It's what He desires. And this is where most people won't get it, because they want somebody to deserve their forgiveness. But you've never deserved anything that God has done for you. Excuse me, I'll talk not for you, I'll talk for me. I've never deserved the grace. How God took me from being so manipulative, so perverted in my thoughts towards women, so messed up on the inside of what success was. I can never repay God. So my attempt is giving Him my whole life.
Thoughts, sir?
So, forgiveness. It's really difficult, but we don't do forgiveness for them. We do forgiveness for our relationship with our Creator, and we get the added benefit of having an easier heart about things that are going on. If you sit there and you hold on to it, and it's been a long time since we've said the old phrase of acid does more to the vessel in which it is stored than on that which it is poured.
Amen.
Because the acid is held inside of that vessel. You are that vessel when you're holding on to that anger. But when you pour acid on something, it's eventually going to go away. And you can always pour water over it to diminish the effects of what that acid is. In other words, you can spew all of that anger that you have at somebody, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to change anything. They'll probably brush it off like water off a duck's back, and that's not going to help you. It's only going to serve to upset you even more. So what's the way of getting out of that endless cycle of why aren't you listening to me? Well, that's to forgive. And that can be really difficult, especially when it might be happening over and over again. But that forgiveness is absolutely essential to your own health and your relationship with your Creator. So don't worry about what the other people are doing. You need to worry about yourself, and then God will fix the rest of it. So it's an exercise in patience, and it's an exercise in forgiveness. But the rewards on the backside of that are always so much better.
Exactly. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I got some shipwreck for you. Should
Awesome.
I talk about Mr. Jackson? You ready?
Nice.
You guys want to see some shit?
Testimony of the child accuser.
In general, the child will be able to recall and recollect with some detail the incident, and that is persuasive to a jury, even if it is the only testimony that is available.
Who the fuck was that? This clip is going around because of a comment that was made by Janet Jackson about Kamala Harris's skin color. But wait, the clip gets better.
In Trump Tower, the kids were very young. Michael would come, play with the kids. He just loved children. He was not a child molester.
Now, the Michael Jackson argument is kind of 50-50. You have a good chunk of people that believe he's completely innocent and that the CIA planted this evidence because he was about to come out with everything that was going on in Hollywood. Then you got another side that 100% believes all the allegations and thinks he was the monster that the media portrayed him to be. I tend to be the first just because of the way that the whole case was handled looking at it now. We've also got two groups of people, one that think he's alive and one that think he's dead, but that's for another video. Kamala Harris was the prosecutor at the time. Although she did not prosecute Michael Jackson's case, she was a well-known prosecutor at the time, so much so that she felt the need to butt in and leave her comment. And many people are speculating that that is what began the feud between Kamala Harris and Janet Jackson. Now, recently, Janet Jackson had made some comments about Kamala Harris not actually being black and made the statement that her father was white, so she is not black. Then turned around and submitted an apology, but then turned around and said, no, I didn't authorize that apology. Fuck you. Apparently, they have been feuding for a long, long time, probably pretty much since what they're saying now, since Michael Jackson's trial. These are the things that Kamala Harris had said, and apparently some of the influence that she may have had. I am a firm believer that Michael Jackson at one point in time tried to warn everybody about the dark Hollywood. They got to him before he could get his message out.
Thoughts, sir?
It's an interesting play about what's going on. I really don't have opinions on Michael Jackson one way or another. I think that it clouds it. And really, it's kind of a Schrodinger's cat scenario. We really don't know. He could have done the absolute worst things, or he could have been absolutely pure about it. Really, if you think about it, Michael Jackson never had a chance to truly grow up. We understand that his pops wasn't exactly a kind person. And so there's very real possibility that he could have just never like emotionally grew up, and that the kids, because of their innocence, he understood them and they understood him because he didn't want to lose that aspect of himself. I can see that as a possibility just as much as I can see that all of the evil things that they said about Michael Jackson are the truth. And the Neverland Ranch didn't help much of anything out. But with that, it really was kind
It
of
also
thin.
has a Q in it.
Yes, it does have a Q in it. And that was kind of what I was going to be getting at is that there's a lot more than meets the eye in terms of what was going on with Michael Jackson. And I believe that that exposure is going to happen. Also, I do believe that Michael Jackson is still alive. There was that video that
We've
was
shown it a
yeah,
few
we've shown it,
times.
and it's in the Q circles quite a bit, where the person went on, I think it was Larry King, and was having an interview, and there
No,
were
I'm talking about the one where it shows him getting out of the ambulance.
oh,
We showed that.
I was talking about the one where he was on like Larry King and
Yeah.
under an assumed name,
Yeah.
and there were just
That
a
one
lot of
too.
things. Yeah, we've shown those,
That
and
was when Nick was on with us.
yeah, that was a long time ago. So these are the things that say that, okay, if there's a Q on Neverland Ranch and there's the possibility that he's still alive and he was dropping little breadcrumbs showing that, under an assumed name, he may still be with us, it would say that he was not P3DO. It would be that he possibly was working with the White Hats as best as he could. That would also explain why they went after him on the press as much as they did. And sometimes that's just really one of the bigger indicators is who are they attacking and why are they trying to keep them quiet?
Exactly.
Aaron says that MJ was not a P3DO. He was a whistleblower. Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people believe
Seth
that.
agrees.
Yeah.
Tracy agrees.
Mhm.
We'll just have to see how everything plays out. You
We'll
ready?
see. Yep.
Hey, Alex, allow me to first say no. It is not over for the Trump campaign. It is not over for this election, and it most certainly is not over for America. If you know anything about my content, you know that my goal is to ensure every single video that I post allows individuals to walk away feeling hopeful and understanding that they too have a voice. Now, I don't do that by just pulling fantasies out of the air. I'm able to have hope simply because I see the statistics. I look at the poll numbers. I look at the campaign performance. I look at the finance numbers. And I also look at the numbers that show up at rallies. Now, what I can tell you today, my friend, is President Trump's campaign is far outperforming any presidential campaign in history. The momentum surrounding this campaign is absolutely glorious, and it terrifies every Democrat. The challenge we face is not momentum. The challenge we face is getting individuals registered to vote and getting them to show up at the polls. Democrats' playbook, and I've seen this, is they are banking on low voter confidence within the Republican Party. It's built into their strategy. They know that many Republicans lack confidence that their vote counts. And that is what terrifies me the most, is that Republicans are not understanding the many pieces of legislation that have been passed since 2020 to ensure further protection of your vote. Your vote does count. Your vote does matter. And without it, we cannot win this election, and we will not save this country. One of the most frustrating things that I hear are individuals still continuing to talk about 2020. And I will just say this. While I've never publicly stated my beliefs in 2020 and what happened, I will say this. I have absolute complete faith in our election system. What I will also say about 2020 is 80 million Americans did not vote. 80 million votes were left on the table, either from unregistered voters or voters who were simply registered and did not have the confidence to show up at the poll. Joe Biden won that election by only 81 million votes. Putting that in perspective, Imagine what we could do if we had even a fraction of those who were unregistered or who did not show up at the polls in 2020 show up and support a President Trump in 2024. My friend, it would be the greatest landslide since Reagan. Whoever challenges you that your vote doesn't count, ask them this one thing. Why in the hell would they go through all of the trouble to do what they have done to President Trump over the last 3.5 years, as well as try to do what they've done in July and just last week, if they had the ability to make your vote not count? Quite frankly, the push from every single conservative must be, from this point forward, ensuring that individuals know how to register, ensuring that individuals are registered, and ensuring that they know that their vote does count and that we need it more than we've ever needed it before. In this election, your vote is the most important vote you will ever cast in your lifetime, because this election is not only good versus evil. This election is communism versus prosperity. Much love, my friend. God bless. And no, it's not over. It's just begun.
Thoughts, sir?
I didn't know people were thinking that it was over.
Yeah, they are.
Where are these people? Because I'm not finding them. But
They're
I
few and
understand
far
there's
between,
I
but
understand.
it is.
I understand. And it's important to help these people use that energy to get your butt out there and go get the voting done. That's the most important job for each one of us. And more importantly, since it is the most important job, we need to make sure that we're researching our local races, because they're just as important as the presidential, all the way down to the dog catcher, right? These are all important jobs. And it's very important that we understand who these people are, because they are going into an elected office. That means they have power, even though they keep telling us that they don't. So we need to make sure that we get out there and vote. I would have to disagree with Preston a little bit there in terms of his use of the word momentum. I think that there is a lot of momentum. It's just the momentum a train builds. There's a lot of weight. There's a lot of people on this Trump train. And it takes a lot of power, tons of torque to try to get that train moving. And once it finally starts moving, it gets a little bit easier. Then it starts picking up a head of steam. And then it becomes unstoppable. It becomes the proverbial unstoppable force. And that's what we're headed to. And it may not look like that because it takes a long time for a train to get up to speed just the same in real life. And so therefore, we need to recognize the power, the deep amount of power that is involved in the American people waking up and starting to take pride and personal responsibility and ownership in our nation and our voting. It's going to take a long time, but it's going to be unstoppable, and it is going to make America great again. Wendy says they pay good money. The pay good money comment was for Santino only. I didn't say that. What? I missed a whole bunch there.
She would pay good money to see you in the outfit.
Which outfit?
The cat man.
Oh, the cat man.
Mm-hmm.
Yum.
And she wants heart pans with it.
No, not doing any of that. It was a terrible joke. Hey, little unker.
You ready?
Yeah.
You want to read that real quick?
Trump, make America great again. Paid
No.
for by Donald J. Trump
No,
for President
under here.
Inc. Approved by Donald J. Trump. A message from the vice president moving past the failed policies.
You ready?
Yes.
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
That's perfect. They keep talking about these failed policies as if these failed policies haven't been happening for the past 3.5 years. And they're talking about these terrible policies as if there weren't great policies for the previous 4 years.
I know.
This is doublespeak. As much as they like to talk about doublespeak, this is the doublespeak that they're talking about, because she's being 100% honest. She's being 100% honest when she says that we need to move past these failed policies. She didn't say we were going to move past them. She just said we need to.
True.
Let that one sink in. They do tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Here, Catman. Dude, you just have, what?
You just have to dress as a cat, lay on the couch, and look at people disapprovingly.
See? Perfect job. I could do that.
Are you ready?
Wow.
Read this.
DOJ IG Horowitz, or the Department of Justice Inspector General Horowitz says, report on number of FBI goons. Well, I don't think he said that. Goons instigating J6 won't be released before the election.
Ready?
Like that's a surprise.
I know.
Well, that's part of the keeping people calm thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You ready?
Inspector General Horowitz, over the past 3 years, I've questioned FBI Director Wray and Attorney General Merrick Garland about the federal assets, such as confidential human sources that were present on January 6th at the Capitol. And they have continuously stonewalled me. We've got no answers whatsoever about this from them. Now, you announced that you were going to do a review of the DOJ response and preparation, mainly preparation, I think, for January 6th. When did you start that review? When did you announce that review?
We announced it in 2021, but we ended up pausing it because of the ongoing criminal cases consistent with how we perform our work. We reinitiated it last year, and I'm in the process of reviewing a draft of the report.
So 3.5 years ago, it was announced that you'd be doing this review, and we still don't have the review, do we?
No, as I said, the reason is we paused the review because of the ongoing criminal work that would, consistent with our practice, we don't interfere with ongoing criminal investigations.
So, but now that you've restarted it, do you have evidence of the number of confidential human sources that were operating on the Capitol grounds on January 6th?
Our report will include the information in that regard.
Can you tell us today how many there were? Were there more than 100?
I'm not in a position to say that, both because it's in draft form and we have not gone through the classification review. And so I need to be careful on what I say.
So we're 4 years in. The reason to do these reports, I think, is so we don't make this, if there were any mistakes, not to make the same mistakes again, but we are just weeks away from the inauguration. We're 4 years, almost 4 years into this report. When is it going to be released?
It's certainly my hope and expectation, although I don't control this entirely because it has to go through a classification review, but certainly in the next couple of months is my hope.
Do you think, is there any consideration for the election about the release of this report? Would you delay it in order to not release it right before the election?
At this point, given the process that has to play out in terms of classification review and all of that, I'm not making I don't have to make any judgment about that. We're still, that still has to go on. Just to give you a sense of it, when I did the Pfizer review,
you're saying it's not even going to be done in time for before the election?
It doesn't, I doubt it would be done in time for the election.
Is it going to be done before the inauguration?
That is certainly my hope. And
your hope. We're 4 years into it, and we know what we do know is you're going to expose that there were confidential human sources at the Capitol. Can you tell us today how many went into the Capitol?
I'll have that information in the report. I'm not able to speak to information in there, both because it's in draft and we get a response from the department and the FBI, but also because I don't know yet what's classified and not classified.
So if they broke the law, if they went into the Capitol, which we pretty much know there were confidential human sources who went into the Capitol and right there alongside of everybody else, wouldn't they need to follow DOJ CHS protocols? And do you know if those were followed?
They should follow CHS protocols. And again, we'll include that information in the report.
Do you know how many were reimbursed for travel?
As I sit here, I don't recall the number. But
I recall, or you won't tell us?
Well, and if I did know it, I wouldn't be in a position to tell you because we still have to go through.
We're 4 years into this. You're supposed to be the organization that goes and gets these answers when the FBI and the DOJ stonewall Congress. But I feel like We're 4 years into this. We're not even going to get this information you're telling us now before the election, and maybe not even before the next inauguration. How would we make any corrections or without that information?
Thoughts, sir?
Wow. Didn't say anything. How exciting.
That.
Yeah, how exciting. Imagine that. The best thing I got is if they were to release it now, it would cause more problems, especially with everything is the way it is. It would be wise that they snatch these people up and put them in jail, not only for their own good, but for the good of the people of this country, so that way they don't do dumb things and look for vigilante justice. That would be a complete just letting go of everything that is America. And what's most important is that we stay true to our American principles, even though our hearts tell us that these things need to be dealt with and dealt with severely, and rightfully could be. Very old. I can go Old Testament on a lot of the stuff that's been going on, and I think we'd be all right. But we're in a different phase of our spiritual development, and that's because Jesus came down and he died for our sins. So we have to do our part and be as forgiving as we possibly can. And that means that we have to bite our tongues. It means that we have to take it easy and we have to let things play out. And that can be difficult, but the exposure is coming. And it's being shown. And I have a feeling that Inspector General will end up talking at some point in time here in the near future. But we'll see how that looks.
Exactly.
Wait and see, my friends.
Yep.
That's all we got.
You ready?
Yep.
So they've tried to shoot him multiple times, and they've hacked his server. They've given campaign information to his opponent, and Donald Trump is not giving up.
No threat will shake me. No enemy will intimidate me. And I have never been more determined than I am today, and I will never back down in my fight to make America great again, which is what we're doing.
What are we going to do when he wins? How are we going to treat elections moving forward and political opponents? I know it's very different with Donald Trump because we've allowed these things to fester for 6 years. But the reality of it is that politics has become extremely nasty. It's only nasty because the left likes to lie about people and character assassinate. And sure, you could say Donald Trump talks bad about his opponents, but if you really look back at the legacy of Donald Trump in politics, everything that he's done and said that's been considered nasty has been in response or retaliation to shit that's been said about him. Politics is disturbing. I really hope that when Trump gets elected and he wins, all of you Democrats are so inundated with winning that you stop being assholes. Hey, have a good day. I'm going to meet a bunch of chicken shits in Congress.
Thoughts, sir?
Okay, who was that?
Okay, his name is J.R., and I'm going to mess up his last name, Majowski.
Majowski?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And he is actually running for office, I believe, in Ohio.
In Ohio. Ohio needs some help.
Yeah, and he's
desperately.
Amazing. He's amazing.
Yeah, it sounds like he's got his head and his keister wired together properly. It's again not giving up. And the message that Trump put out there, really, it can be overwhelming at times. It can feel very dark. It can feel like we're not going anywhere. It can feel like we may lose. Don't quit. Keep going. Stay positive. And this is kind of one of the things that I wanted to get at here is sometimes it can really seem like, actually, this kind of came into my head when we were talking about Preston earlier. And that is that sometimes it can seem like we're blowing sunshine up people's keisters and trying to make it sound like everything's all hunky-dory and everything's fine. Yes, everything is fine. And the reason why I believe that is because of what I see going on. I see these kinds of people standing up and they're getting elected and put into office and they're going to, take care of business. I see that President Trump is more supported than any other president that I've seen in my entire life. I would say that Trump's rallies are probably even bigger than anything Ronald Reagan did back in the day. Exactly. I see that kind of energy from the American people. These are all things that say that the tide has turned and that the people are going to change the course of the way things have been headed. And it may seem like with all of these negative things going on with these inspector generals keeping tight-lipped during a congressional hearing, it's
basically an FU to them.
It is. But these are the things that people have to see. And it infuriates us because we know it shouldn't be like this. You were put in that position. You stand tall for what you are doing and you don't worry about the consequences because you know that the American people have your back. You tell us about the problem. We'll take care of it. That's no problem. But it's a slow play. It's a slow play. And like somebody said in the comments earlier, it's a slow play to prevent as many civilian casualties as possible. After all, the civilians, we, the people, the very lifeblood of this nation, be it that you're pro-blue or pro-red or don't care about either party, you just love this country, doesn't matter. It's for each and every American, and each and every citizen has a right to be protected from these very problems. And so how do you take out a problem that is part of the government from within the government without having huge fireworks that ends up taking out, so much of the citizenry of this nation? It's going to be slow. It's going to be painful. That's why we listen to all of the things that are going on. And it's the little things that we focus on because those are the little pieces of truth that give us reason to hold on to that hope and to understand that we are a God-fearing nation and it will be happening in a manner that will end up in the best interest of everybody that is involved, and certainly everybody that's around after all of this is said and done.
Exactly.
So we have to keep the faith and stay positive. So is it just kind of pulling things out of the air to keep people positive? No, it's not. It's pulling tidbits of information that point to the truth that has been hidden from us and through the lies that let us know that there is no hope. We just got so used to listening to the lies of misery and doom and destruction that we forgot how to listen to that little tiny quiet voice that says that everything's going to be fine.
Exactly. Here, I got some information from Chops. I love our family. They know so much stuff. Oh, and Bill, Bethany's still working, but hopefully she'll be able to join us soon.
Okay.
You want to go ahead and
you want me to read it? I thought you were reading these things. No. Chops, thank you very much. J.R. Marjuski got torpedoed when a leaked, incomplete DD-214 was used to write a stolen valor story.
Which was false. It was false.
Surprise, surprise.
There you
They're going
go.
to use lies. He was running for Ohio 9th district against Marcy Kaptor.
Yeah.
Kaptor. What an interesting last name. Wonder what that one means.
Exactly.
Carol says, I've been working and listening. Finally off now. Woohoo.
We are so glad you're finally off work, sweetie.
Woo, woo.
But yes, Bethany is still working. So hopefully, she'll be able to. It's been a long day for her.
Yeah.
And we love her and she knows that we miss her when she's not here. She's probably listening. So
we love you, Bethany Ann.
We love you, Bethany Ann. You ready?
Yep.
So you telling me because I'm black that I gotta vote for a Democrat? You telling me the same motherfucking party that separated black families, that was a destruction to the black community, you telling me I supposed to go down there and vote for them motherfuckers? You see, ignorance is motherfucking bliss. And the lack of knowledge of these black folks got me fucked up. It's called freedom of motherfucking choice, bitch. And let me say this too. These illegal immigrants are the new niggas. And if you love your black job, then your black ass need to vote for Donald Trump. Oh, see, that shit was controversial. Now you in your feelings and I don't give a fuck. because we've been voting the same goddamn way every motherfucking 4 years and keep getting the same goddamn result. So if you some bitches want to goddamn hate me because I want to vote for the other side, let me tell you something. I don't give a motherfucker. I don't give a goddamn.
Thoughts, sir?
Earmuffs.
I know.
Okay.
I think our family is
Yeah.
intelligent
they're
enough
fine.
to,
Yeah.
they're okay.
Yeah, I think everybody be all right. So,
They're getting their feelings.
okay, despite the salty language, that's how people are feeling about it, and the message is getting spread everywhere. And I will say that the language is an important part of this because it's not necessarily just Christians. It's not the evangelicals who are doing this. It's everybody. And yeah, he had a big cross on his chest and stuff like that. So obviously he believes in Christ, and that's great. And I support that. He has a different understanding in terms of how to walk the walk, and that's okay. But we have to get rid of these problems that he's talking about. And that's the important part right now. Let's not get sidetracked on people's salty language. Trust me, I can have the saltiest of languages. I can weave a tapestry of F words that most people would be amazed to hear. But that's something that's changed in my life because my life has changed and I've dedicated my life to God. And that, I fall a lot of the times, but I do my best. And so let's not get wrapped up on that part of the conversation. Everything he was saying was true. And once we're able to get rid of this swamp creature that has its tentacles all over the world, that once that swamp creature has been taken out and dealt with properly, then we can get to the part of walking the walk with everybody else, because there will be that giant release of having to be that tough person that so many people have had no choice but to be that salty character, because that's what's encouraged in so much of the workplace and around the world. And that's what is required to not get stepped on by all of these people, because everybody's trying to climb their way to the top by getting stepped on by people. So people have to react in very negative and non-productive ways in a lot of times. So those things will be fixed, but it's one thing at a time. How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. And this elephant that we have to eat is the problem that he was talking about.
Yeah.
So I support that man in every way. Wendy says, we talk worse here in the chat. Let the language fly. It's fine. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words shall never hurt me.
Aaron.
I know.
And Tracy says,
I dropped the F-bomb here and there.
yep.
Y'all ain't got nothing on me.
So you ready?
Yeah.
So Harry doesn't realize that we can do research too. You ready?
Look at that.
Donald Trump, Melania Trump, and P. Diddy.
Oh, Hair Bear, when will you ever learn? We can dig up shit too.
Oh no, we found this resurfaced tweet of Kamala Harris thanking P. Dizzle. Oh boy. Oh no, I found more.
That looks like Senator Kamala Harris, and that looks like Harvey Weinstein. They had meetings together. Oh no. See, Harry, the shit's not hard to find. So if you're gonna throw some shade at the Don, you should probably be sure that we can't throw just as much shade, if not more, right back at your mama Kamala. The best part is P. Diddle Dizzle and Harvey Weinstein have been huge supporters of the Democratic Party, and the Democrats have always welcomed them with open arms. And unfortunately for Sean, Puffy, P. Dizzle, Diddy, Combs, I think he's going to get a case of the Epsteins. Sad. We should start mourning now. Just get out of the way.
Thoughts, sir?
Harry's a clown. I don't know why anybody's even bothering with that guy. I guess because he still has some kind of a following.
He does.
It's amusing that they try. It's always the same couple of photos.
I know.
And now we have a new photo. Oh, look, they were sitting in it looked like an event.
And then there's
somewhere.
always the photos with the person that doesn't have an arm or 6 fingers. And
Yeah. But even with that picture with the president and P. Diddy sitting next to each other at looked like a theater or something, I guess.
Yeah.
What, you Do you think,
I think he was on The Apprentice, actually.
was he?
Mhm.
Okay. Either way, neither here nor there. What was I getting at?
I apologize.
That's all right. No reason to apologize. Just because they were sitting together doesn't mean that they did anything, that they had
That they were buds.
Oh, that's what it was. It was the fact that it's such a small circle with ultra high net worth individuals. That's people with over $30 million in liquid assets, right? How many people actually have a net worth of $30 million in liquid assets? Very few. And so I would assume that your friend circle would get even smaller in that scenario. It would necessarily have to be smaller because if your friends don't have those kinds of funds, they're probably going to want something off of you, right?
Yeah.
And that's not going to be everybody, but it's going to be difficult. So who do you hang out with? Other people with lots of money. Sad thing is that there's quite a few people on both sides, both light and dark, that have a lot of money. But because the circle is so small, and if you plan on getting anything done, you kind of have to work with them. And the only way to beat them is to be able to communicate with them and do businesses, because you can find out more about who they are. You can create a strategy around it, and then you can try to win. But there's always an opportunity. And I would assume that those people that have ultra high net worth would be even smaller in an industry where it's entertainment, which President Trump was a part of for a very short period. Well, actually, he's on and off with the WWE and stuff like that. But some grace must be given. But with Kamala having private meetings with Harvey Weinstein, and Harvey Weinstein got away with all of these things for a long time. I think that just the mere implication of the Attorney General for the state of California and Harvey Weinstein, who got away with pretty much everything, that has a much higher likelihood of collusion.
I know.
So yeah, probably not smart, Harry. But hey,
Well,
whatever. You think you're brilliant.
He's not the brightest bulb.
Yeah, well, he went to one of those
Yeah.
stupid back east.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You
Yeah.
ready?
Yep.
And he's not even American.
Oh, he's not?
No.
Shut
Born
the,
in South Africa.
yeah, shut the fuck up, Harry.
You want to read that real quick? This up here.
Former EPA chief of staff clarifies that Trump had no involvement with Project 2025.
Ready?
Yeah.
I have a prepared opening statement that I'll get into in just a second, but Ranking Member Raskin, you reiterated and have created a boogeyman that just isn't there. I did author the EPA chapter on Project 2025, but in the course of that, I did not work with President Trump, with any of the people who work for him directly or his campaign. And it is very misleading to suggest that there's any coordination there, because I can personally tell you it did not happen. And I am not vying for a position in the next administration. I've actually left DC and I've moved to a small town in Mississippi where I interact every day with people who live outside this bubble of gaslighting and misleading. And they actually are dealing with the consequences caused by policy decisions of this administration that isn't defined by progress, but defined by creating unnecessary hardship. I understand why it's hard to think about the political realm prior to President Trump, but the Heritage Foundation has been very involved in pushing forward conservative policies for quite a while. And the Mandate for Leadership, the latest iteration, it's the 9th edition. This is a project that has been put out every few years since 1981. So it's been around for quite some time, and again, is more committed to representing the position of the broader conservative movement than any one candidate or person. And I understand why there is the creation of this boogeyman, because your leading candidate is running away from policy actions she has taken that make Americans' lives much more difficult. In fact, Vice President Kamala Harris was recently asked on national television the following question: when it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago? She said a lot of words, but she did not answer the question, because the reality is most Americans are not better off. Most Americans are struggling to deal with expensive gas, expensive electricity, and high-cost goods and groceries that have created financial burdens that Americans have had to deal with throughout the Biden-Harris administration. Their day one energy policies are a key driver behind Americans' increasing financial distress. From President Biden's promise to end all fossil fuels, alongside Vice President Kamala Harris's commitment to ban fracking, Americans have suffered under their radical agenda. From the energy perspective, this has included locking up development of resources and demonizing industries, mainly coal, oil, and natural gas, that still provide 80% of our daily energy needs. A recent report from the Institute of Energy Research has been tracking these actions, and they've found that since January 2021, President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and congressional Democrats have taken over 250 actions that make it harder to produce energy in America. This has included stopping construction of the Keystone XL pipeline that immediately cut 11,000 domestic jobs, including thousands of union jobs, issuing a moratorium on new oil and gas permits on federal lands, greenlighting Putin's Nord Stream 2 pipeline while shuttering the development of U.S. pipelines along the East Coast, rejoining the disastrous Paris Climate Agreement that is squeezing out U.S. jobs and increasing the regulatory burden on American companies, launching a war on household appliances that are now 34% more expensive than 15 years ago, blocking the Twin Metals mine, shuttering U.S. steelworker jobs in Minnesota and cutting off access to critical minerals that we need more and more of. And instead, this administration is making us more and more dependent on China. Slowing permits for LNG facilities from an average of 7 weeks to 11 months, then completely halting permits for new LNG facilities altogether. Mandating that Americans drive electric vehicles despite growing market resistance, infrastructure shortfalls, and a preference for more affordable and reliable gas-powered vehicles. Americans are dealing with the consequences of these actions every time they put gas in their car, pay their electricity bills, or go to the grocery store.
Thoughts, sir?
So the former EPA chief of staff is who that was.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I would
Called
expect.
out Raskin.
Yeah, I would not expect an EPA anything to sound anything remotely close to anything that she said. Like that was an entire mind blown in terms of it sounded like it was a rational human being that wasn't worried about shoving everybody into green cars with green energy that's destroying the planet on a daily basis. So she actually cares about the environment. And these are the people that we need to see dealing with these environmental protection kind of issues if there is an environmental protection agency in the future. She was, matter of fact, she made it very clear that Trump has nothing to do with Project 2025. I'm so sick and tired of hearing that, but whatever. It's a lie that they keep saying. And more evidence is brought up in various different places because people that don't like Trump aren't going to believe when Trump says he doesn't even know what Project 2025 is. Well, what about the former EPA chief of staff?
How many times has it been said, though? Even CNN said it.
I know. But it still needs to be said.
Yeah.
Let that one sink in about how thick of skulls we're trying to get through.
I know.
Isn't this fun?
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Donald J. Trump is a narcissistic, racist dictator who wants to take my rights away as a gay man. Well, at least that's what I was led to believe. And now that I've woken up from the Democratic spell, I know it's the farthest thing from the truth. Because see, when I was a Democrat, I believed anything that was fed to me by the news. The last thing that I would do is my own research. And the first thing that I believed was that he was self-centered and a narcissist. But that's because I was living my life as a beta male. And now that I've woken up from that spell and I've distanced myself from communities like yoga communities or the alphabet community, I realize that people don't like when you don't follow the crowd, when you don't follow the herd. And not only that, they don't like when you have a strong point of view and you're a boss. And if you don't agree with their opinions, they want to make you seem like the bad guy. And I realize now that somebody with a strong opinion who has a strong background in what they do and is successful is looked at as a threat by those who like being told what to do. President Trump isn't a narcissist. He's a leader with a vision, and he does not surrender to what people want him to be or act like. Number 2, Trump is a racist. Now, this I bought into, and I have to ask myself, Rigo, how can you buy into this when you grew up in New York City? Any stop that you get off in New York, you're going to see a Trump building. And now when I think about this, I go, Rigo, not once in the 80s, the 90s, or early 2000s did you ever hear about Trump being a racist, and you grew up in his city. Not only that, but how about all those years that we watched The Apprentice on TV? He wasn't racist then. And not to mention the fact that he's dated black women. Oh yes, he has. He only became a racist while he was running for president and during his presidency. And I believed it. I bought into it. I didn't think about it twice. And I realized that the one who was being a racist was right over here. The ones that were being racist were the ones on the left. But when you're under that leftist spell, you don't see it that way. You see what you're saying as the truth, even though you're the one coming off as a racist. And you just don't, you're so oblivious to it. It's crazy. So yes, I know that President Trump is the furthest thing from a racist. Now, being a dictator, when I tell you guys that this had a grip on me and the fear that I had over this topic, you wouldn't even believe me. I was petrified that President Trump, and mind you, I would never call him President Trump. Oh no, I did not respect him in that way. I had such a level of disrespect for him that I would just call him Trump. It's now that I call him President Trump, and I say it with pride because I realize, wow, Rigo, you're being a dick. But when I tell you guys, I lived in fear that President Trump was going to be a dictator, it's no joke. And now I look at that and I'm like, what the was wrong with you, Rigo? I know that's the farthest thing from the truth. It's crazy for me to think that just a short few years ago, I had these thoughts and these belief systems that I thought would always be in place. And I'm so happy that I woke up from that miserable spell they had me under. Because really, now that I look at it, I felt like I was a slave. And I didn't even know it. I had no idea that I was enslaved by this party. And in the same way, in my last video where I debunked myths about the MAGA community, I had to make a video debunking the myths that I believed about President Trump. Only thing I fear now is President Trump not becoming president. Waking up has restored my patriotism for this country. Waking up has made me respect the American flag. And waking up made me respect President Trump in a way that I never thought possible. And once again, I want to thank the MAGA community for accepting me with love and open arms. And I want to thank President Trump for being the alpha male that this country needs, because it's something that this country could use a little bit more of is some masculinity. And yes, this is coming from the gay man, letting you know that he feels 1,000,000 times safer under the presidency of Donald J. Trump. Have a beautiful day, and Trump 2024.
Thoughts?
It was good to hear that, and I'm glad to hear that, as the people that were very much, never Trump, blah blah blah, are now, like he said, waking up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going out there and he's explaining to people the very things that that are the truth in terms of the lies that he used to believe. And as these people wake up, they tell, it's what we do. Oh my God, this is what's going on. Y'all need to hear about this. And as more and more people, explain to their circle of friends, he is going to, start putting red pills out there. They're not going to go to him right away. That's not how it works, because they'll feel embarrassed. And what they don't understand at this point in time is we're not judging you. We were there before, maybe not to the far extreme that you were, but we were certainly to a far extreme in a different direction. That's why we had to wake up as well. So what can we do is we can plant those seeds and they will grow. We're just farmers of the truth, fishers of men and women.
I love that.
Yeah.
Farmers of the truth. You ready?
Okay. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Want to know what to say? Go to Jesus. Do you want to know what to do? Go to Jesus. Do you want to know how to act? Go to Jesus. Do you want to know how to love? Go to Jesus. There is no my truth. There is the truth. You cannot have varying degrees of truth. There's truth and there are lies. You want life? Go to Jesus. He is the life. The twistings of scripture, spiritualities, consciousness, Jesus. That's it. He is the life. He is the way. Now listen, there is no other way. I don't care how exclusive that sounds. It's supposed to be. Narrow is the gate that leads to life. Wide is the gate that leads to destruction, and too many people are taking it. Stop making excuses. God is love doesn't mean that he loves your sin. The wages of sin is death, period. Stop wasting your time. The world is falling away and so many are falling with it. Endure, remain vigilant, stay the course, resist the evil in this world. Share the love of Christ because he is the only way to salvation, the only way to the Father in heaven, and the only way to life. Oh, come on, Jesus.
Thoughts, sir?
Beautifully said.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, that was very good.
Gave me all kinds of warm and fuzzy.
I don't really know if there's anything to add on top of that.
I know.
Who was that?
He's former military, and his screen name is Living. I just closed it.
That's
I'll
all
have to
right.
get it for you.
We'll have to get it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Listen to this. It's very amazing.
Okay.
Them. Why won't you vote for Kamala? His answer. Ready?
Last person that we need as president is you. No, I'm sorry, but your skin color and big smile won't do. You ain't fit to be no president, and your past service is proof. Just look at the border. Since you've been over it, you know everybody come through. It's estimated that about 15 to 20 million people came in illegally under your watch. You supposed to tighten the border, but you done caused too many leaks. Look at Chicago and Denver and New York City too. Just ask Oakland, this migrant crisis done hit them too. You digging inside of the taxpayers' pockets to give an illegal a home. Or are you tripping? This can't be real. This who you Democrats really all on. I'm starting to see that they really don't care about no policy. All that they see is a race. As long as your culture is black and your skin is like mine, you get my vote any day, man, and they still don't see the truth. Snake in the grass. Kamala, she a snake in the grass. Snake in the grass. Snake in the grass. Kamala, she a snake in the grass. Snake in the grass. Snake in the grass. Kamala, she a snake in the grass. Miss Kamala Harris, you need to sit back and shut up and take off your mask. Snake in the grass. Kamala, she a snake in the grass. Snake in the grass. Snake in the grass.
Thoughts?
Did he say Kamala has a snake in the
grass?
Oh, no. So she is. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's Aaron, it's against that. His shirt. I had to enlarge it to see it.
I missed the question. What did Aaron say? I have no idea. I'm lost. Oh, agape on his hat and sweatshirt. Yeah, it did say that. I had no idea, and I didn't look it up.
I had to scroll, and it is against graping.
Yeah. Gotcha.
There you go.
Okay, now that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, if there's something that I've learned through the music that has been created through this awakening process at the very beginning with so much of the great music that's come out, I've realized that even though we all speak English or some form of it, right? That from like Appalachia with Rich Men from Richmond.
Yes.
You know, to this,
Anthony.
Oliver
Anthony.
Loza Alexander, and the Canadian guy. I don't know why I can't remember his name.
Who?
The Canadian guy, rapper.
Oh, Tom McDonald.
Tom McDonald. So each person has their own way of communicating. And the music that's come out from this has shown the differences in the styles of communication. But music goes straight to the soul. It resonates more. It creates more of that energy, frequency, and vibration. And so just because this song doesn't resonate with you doesn't mean that it's not going to resonate with another group of citizens, right? And so I find this encouraging. It's almost as if these different kinds of music, to me, could be represented by the Tower of Babylon, and everybody spoke different languages. And now all of those different languages are starting to say a lot of the same things in terms of the truth that the previous video was talking about. There is a real truth. These people are speaking the truth as far as we can tell. Despite, or if other evidence comes out, we're all open to that, but it's not looking that way. So all of these people are de-Babylizing, and we're all learning to speak the same language again. I know I'm making up words, but President Bush did it, so suck it. So we're all starting to speak that same language. And this is just one more of those things that says that across all, I guess, styles of music, which speaks to different areas of the country. You know, there's different kinds of rap. You have East Coast rap and West Coast rap. That's been going on forever and a day. This says that everybody's singing off the same sheet of music. And what more could we ask for? And that, again, says that we will make it through this in the end, provided that everybody does their job and gets out there to vote and make sure other people are active. No matter how good it looks like President Trump is doing in the polling, exit polls, whatever, we have to get out there and do our part.
Exactly. Good night, Tracy. Sleep well.
Night, Tracy. Be safe.
You ready?
Yep.
Listen to this shit.
Oh, God.
I swear, some of the shit that comes out of fucking Kamala Harris supporters. Just fucking watch.
So I will not be voting for Donald Trump, and here's why you shouldn't either. So he wants to cut food stamps by $180 billion. He wants to take it away from adults who are not working more than 20 hours a week. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not want to work. I do not want to lose the $2,500 that I get from food stamps. And not only that, but I want to have another baby just for the simple fact that it's going to raise my benefits. I wanted to raise my food benefits, my cash benefits, all that stuff. So if Donald Trump becomes president, I won't get that anymore, and that is not fair. As a U.S. citizen, I feel like I have the right to decide if I want to work or not. I have the right to decide if I want to mooch off the government or not. So therefore, I do not agree with Donald Trump, and I won't be voting for him. So my vote will go for Kamala Harris. We know that a woman could do a better job than any man can running this country.
I've been sent that video about 40 fucking times. And all I can think is, that's got to be fucking satire. But I can't obviously say that it's satire, because there are that many motherfuckers in this world where that is literally a serious thought in their life. But if you go and check out Chanclita's page, yeah, satire and sarcasm. And the fact that so many people did not go and read that before sending me that in the fucking DMs, they're all butthurt. It's fucking rage bait. Congratulations, you fucking fell for it. So yeah, anyways, toodles.
Thoughts?
I know that it was starting to upset me, but that's how people think. And so that makes it easy to believe that people really think like that.
I know.
Because there are people who think like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something else.
Bill, he's actually a Navy
Bill says,
veteran.
But he's got green hair.
Yeah.
Is that the one you're referring to?
Well, he's poisoned himself.
Okay.
He's a Navy
With an egg
veteran.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and yes, he has
Those
green
are so
hair,
good, though.
but he is very much a patriot.
He is.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows about the food.
Yeah, they haven't
Haven't
done
got there
enough
yet.
research.
But that's
Remember,
what.
everyone's in a different spot in their journey.
Mhm. Yeah.
I talked over.
No,
you.
that's fine. Yeah, everybody, Kay is 100% correct. Everybody's in a different spot on their journey, and that he just hasn't got to that. And RFK Jr. will help him see that difference.
Yeah.
We've got a long way to go with everybody.
Yeah.
But once Trump gets elected, he's going to have the right people in place, obviously, so that way people change a lot of the ways they do things, and the companies that do these evil things won't be able to do those anymore.
Exactly. You ready? You're gonna love this one. This one was just so amazing. Charlie Kirk, let's go.
Okay.
Why are you voting for Trump?
I can't vote. I'm out. I'm not from here, but like I'm from China. Initially, we fled China. I'm as asylum actually.
But would you vote for Trump if you could?
Yes, of course.
What's your message for Americans that don't understand
Don't
tyranny?
vote for socialism.
Yeah! It's amazing how many Americans want socialism, isn't it?
I mean, that's what Chinese people wanted, and look what happened. And now, it's about to happen to us. So we fled here, and we wanted this place to not be like China. Don't vote like what China happened. Don't let that happen. Exactly.
And that's why we had to vote for Trump.
Exactly. Yeah.
What's your name?
I'm Jeff.
Nice to meet you, man. God bless you.
Sir.
Why is it that anybody who's ever had to deal with socialism in a manner that they were forced to always says, don't vote for socialism? How is it the left can't see that? Oh, because they're so smart, because they're all elite educated from Ivy League schools, and they're going to do it better than everybody else.
Of course, Buffy.
Pip, pip, and all that. No, you're Buffy.
Oh, okay.
Or Muffy.
Muffy. I thought I was Muffy. You were Buffy.
Biff.
Biff.
Yes.
Biff.
It's Biff. Biff went to Harvard.
There you go.
Yeah.
I knew it was something like that.
Thank you, Muffy.
Yes. You ready?
Yeah.
You want to read that?
Our tax dollar, okay, let me try this one again. Our tax dollars goes to what? Expose the list. Keep voting blue. Sheeps, angry face, Trump 2024.
Ready?
Yep.
Congress has paid over $17 million in hush money for sexual misconduct inside of the offices in these buildings. And what's more is that was taxpayer money, right? The allegation is that President Trump paid $130,000 of his own money. But here in Congress, there may be some on this dais. I mean, I'm for turning loose all of these records. Who in here has had the taxpayer pay for their sexual misconduct charges, the hush money? I bet there's some over there. There may be some over here. I don't know, but I do know it's taxpayer money. And I do know not a single penny of it has been turned in as a campaign finance expense. Is the FEC going to investigate the $17 million that Congress has paid to settle, behind closed doors, these sexual misconduct allegations?
Congressman, if a complaint were to come to us about it, I'm sure it would be thoroughly investigated.
I might file one because it seems like anybody could do this. But let me just ask this: is this verdict going to be vacated, Attorney General Bailey? What do you think?
It absolutely should be.
On what grounds?
Numerous grounds. I think the 5 grounds I laid out in my opening statement provide sufficient justification to undermine the credibility of the conviction. I think there are additional grounds as well, but I think that the constitutional violations, the due process violation, the jury unanimity, Sixth Amendment problem alone, the gag order is violative of the First Amendment. I mean, the prosecutorial misconduct, the conviction is replete with legal error.
Ms. Foley, do you think this is going to be vacated, this verdict?
I do, and I think eventually it's going to be reversed based on legal grounds rather than mixed questions of fact and law. So some of the evidentiary issues, some of the bias issues, I think they're more difficult to win on appeal because the appellate courts owe deference on these evidentiary determinations of trial judges. Bias is very difficult to win on appeal because the judge has so much latitude in deciding whether to recuse himself. That's why the due process errors are so critical here, because obviously due process errors are questions of law. They get de novo standard of appellate review. The appellate courts owe absolutely no deference whatsoever.
So the irony here is this is going to be vacated, and this trial was all about trying to influence an election using the process as the punishment. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to submit for the record 3 documents. One is entitled FEC Drops Investigation into Trump Hush Payments. This is from 3 years ago. I'd like to introduce a document. Congress has paid $17 million in sexual misconduct and discrimination settlements. This was in Axios in 2017. And my third and final document I'd like to introduce is from CNN. Congress paid out $17 million in settlements. Here's why we know so little about that money. Thank you. I yield back.
All right. Well, there are a couple of things
Oh,
going on
sir.
there. So at the beginning, he was discussing all of the hush money payments. By the way, what they were talking about vacating was President Trump's hush money trial and whether or not they were going to vacate the
Where
sentence.
the guy should have recused himself, the judge, and
all of
yeah,
the
'cause his
shenanigans that went on
daughter
with that.
and-
Yeah. Yeah. So now we're hearing, and this is a congressional hearing, and it's an official government stance that anything that he was convicted of is going to be reversed, and that they're probably, they didn't say it, but they're probably, if they're not already investigating the judge, that they're going to be doing an investigation into this. And then he, so in the beginning, that takes us back to the beginning of the video, where he was talking about the $17 million that were paid out to use for hush money for so many members of our Congress. We don't ever hear about those. We only heard about the fact that Trump supposedly paid some hush money, which he didn't pay to.
Because it was Cohen and he didn't even know about it.
And the fact that the lady that was supposedly the one that he
Said never happened.
Yeah, she herself said nothing ever happened. Ridiculous. Again, this is going to be a boomerang. It's going to come back and smack him in the head. So that's why the 17 million. I'm going to take that 17. I'm sure it was a lot more. And if not, if people were treated poorly, then I hope that they got more. But the government and the people who run it, that's who they are. Anyways, the 17 million, I believe, is an indicator that this is one of those, the Patriots are in control. This is one of the areas where I believe the Patriots are in control. And when we hear 17 like that, it means that we're going to hear about this from 1 to 7, from beginning to divine completion. That's where we're headed with this, and it's not going to stop until it has reached completion. And with all these congressmen using the taxpayers, the treasure of the people, stealing the treasure to cover their improprieties.
Yes.
We'll come back and we'll see what happens there.
Amen. You ready?
Here's what I discovered that happens to you in life, that you will go through things, and while you're going through them, you can't understand why it's happening to you. But after you go through it, you get back and you look at it and you say, oh, now I understand why I needed that lesson. I saw that that was preparing me for bigger and better things.
All right, baby.
I'm going to make this one pretty simple. Hindsight is 20/20, which means that while you're going through the test, when you're going through the trials, you're not going to understand why, because we get the lessons after, or we get the understanding after the lessons. That's kind of how that works. That's how we learn. You know, we can be given the answers and we can read the book and interpret it and navigate through life perfectly. But, how many people really can do that, right? And then would you really be living? Would you really be gaining that wisdom? I think I'd rather gain the wisdom, as painful as it is sometimes, because I recognize that the reward in the end is so much sweeter than the bitterness of having to go through the trials and the pain and the suffering. So focus on the end state and recognize and maybe even say a prayer when you're going through those trials. All right, I really want to see, what this is teaching me, help me understand. But that doesn't mean that the gifts won't be even more on the back end. So with grace, we go through our trials. We wander through the desert until we get the lesson, and then we get to the promised land. That's kind of the cycle. That's the process. So don't get discouraged or sad or demotivated because you're going through these trials, as hard as that may be when you're in the middle of it.
Yep.
I understand that deeply. But I also see that there is a positive end to all of this. And these are the things that help me stay focused on what matters. And that is one foot in front of the other.
Amen.
Anyway,
Amen.
did you have anything to add?
No, that was perfect.
All right.
That was absolutely perfect.
All right. Well, continuing on with the tradition of one foot in front of the other, we would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, Rumble, and pill.net.
And woo.
Easy for you to say.
And if you haven't done it already, please take a minute and give us that virtual hug. If you're over on YouTube or Rumble, hit that thumbs up. If you're over on pill.net, take that red pill. If you're over on X, smash that heart. And there's like 6 things on Facebook, but the heart would be really awesome.
That's what she likes.
Yeah,
the hearts.
I like the hearts.
Hearts are special.
Hearts are special.
Anyways. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another amazing week. We truly appreciate and enjoy your company as well. Thanks for joining us.
I miss you guys on the weekend.
We do miss y'all on the weekends, but you know what? The 3 days on this is time that we can spend with our family, loved ones, and the things that we are inspired to do. So during the course of this weekend, make sure you're spending time with God, observe the Sabbath, and just go live life a little bit. And then we'll see y'all again on Monday. Same dat time, same dat channel.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We love you all. Good night. Be safe and God bless.